Baturdays. Baturdays. Omnidog in the Minister of Comics. Talk forever, get right your ergonomics. Taking questions from the chat. With a name like that, you think they talk more about the bat. Baturdays. 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 In the BatCave.
Heyo, and welcome, Omnidogs and Omnikittens, to Baturdays in the BatCave. And the first thing I should see is Cycle Cleveland yelling at me that this is a different Taylor. Where is that? Cycle Cleveland. Let's see. Cycle Cleveland is in the chat. People are saying this Taylor guy is a real goiter guy. LOL, am I right? Do you read goiter, Taylor?
I do. Cycle
You
Cleveland
do?
and I have we align quite a bit in our taste in comics.
Do you have a copy of goiter within your 1 minute of circumference?
I don't think so.
Okay, I'm asking you to go find goiter. Go find it.
I don't know if I can. I don't know. That's what I wasn't prepared for.
This is Taylor Talks. Taylor Talks Comics. He has his own channel. He's also a big media guy for Very Fine Condition. There's James, once again, just taking someone away from Very Fine Condition. Go Omnidog, hashtag cancel Omar, hashtag team Omnidog. Thank you, James, my trusty friend. Yes, Taylor is the media guy for Very Fine Condition. He's also shilling for this other company that sells online comics, but
competitor. We don't have to mention them, but
that's right. We'll talk about organic price books and my code Omnidog, and of course 5% off shipping 3 or more books together. Omnidog, ship it together. Right on. So we started early because I was ready. This is directed to you.
I know my first faux pas is the guest here. Name another book. I could grab another one.
Cycle, name another book that Taylor can look for. My buddy Super Laugh Hard. Hello, Justin Taylor. Jake is here from Brave and Boys. Mr. Awesome having lots of thoughts and lots of thoughts about what the modern age is. When do we get to the postmodern age of comics? Or maybe
I agree with that. That's one thing I never understood either, is that it's like they have a very distinct name of golden, silver, bronze, and then modern age, there's like, whatever, we give up.
Yeah, I feel like 1985 when Dark Knight Returns came out.
Right, but then after that though, they haven't decided to change the name of a new age or come up with something else. Like, it's just like,
who is they? I mean, it should be us. You and I should just name it now.
We should. There was one person that I heard name because it was 86 and then it was the early 90s extreme age. And someone came up with holofoil age because of all the dumb covers they came out with.
I remember it.
I thought that was a good one, but I don't know, because there's obviously the 90s extreme image days. I think image being created should be a distinguishing mark of a new age.
Okay.
And then I think early 2000s, whenever Joe Quesada takes over Marvel, those, I think that would be another era that would change the whole widescreen panel, Brian Hitch kind of artwork. That would be a different one too. But
so we've got several ages. Sasmurf has an idea. It's not saying he goes straight from bronze to modern, just that those will be two of the ages covered. Yeah, right. We're skipping the copper. Now I have heard it called the copper. Yeah. I haven't heard of tin and aluminium, as they say in Australia. Aluminum. I have heard the age right after bronze called copper, so that could include 85 to 2000, and then 2000 you're saying is the Joe Quesada era, sort of the reboot, relaunch era from 2000 to now.
Yeah, because then you get Marvel Knights and Marvel Max, like those. I feel like all of that was a very shift in the change. I don't know. I mean, obviously there could be a different one since then. I don't know what would cause the big shift in comics since then, since the 2000s.
Well, that's a good question. I came back to comics in 2008, so that would be the Omnidog era, 2008 to now. So that's what we should be calling it. And then New 52 actually grabbed me. Some of it was good, some of it not so good. And then, of course, Rebirth was great. Right alongside in that, we had Marvel Now, and what was the other? It was like Marvel Now and Marvel.
Like all new Marvel?
All new, all different Marvel.
Yeah. Yeah, that would be it. I'd say that'd be a different one too. Yeah, because which one thing I wanted to say too in the opening here, but
sure.
I had my own kind of period where I wasn't reading comics as well, because I've grown up reading comics like since before I could even read. Like my older brother got me into comics, and then like all through my teen years, and then my early to mid 20s, I stopped reading comics for a few years, and then it was like I talk about this on my channel all the time, but I want to say like 5 or 6 years ago. Is when I found like your channel and found Omar's channel and the Omni Bros kind of all at the same time. And one thing that like endeared me about your channel, just to prop you up a little bit, was that like I loved that you had like this history and this base of knowledge from your childhood of reading comics, but also being one of the elder statesmen of the comic book community. But you were never like, you were always wanting to embrace new comics as well, and a lot of the people that I'd say like your peers in comics will kind of have like a disdain for new stuff, saying like, like back in my day, that kind of thing. Like, but you've never had that mentality. You've always wanted to embrace and find the new comics that were good too. So that's one thing that always endeared me about your channel. And
thanks.
One reason why I always watched it. So
thank you. Well, yeah, I'm just interested in reading good comics. I've said often that I consider now to be the golden age of comics, and I would say the golden age for me of, if we want to say golden, let's say modern golden age, the Omnidog age. Obviously, it started in 2008. But yeah, everything back to like the year 2000 on, there's really interesting, really well written, really well illustrated stuff from not only the big two, but of course Image, and then strong titles from Dark Horse and Boom and IDW, and of course Goiter, the book of the year that I haven't read yet. But can you hear my mic?
Yeah.
You can hear me okay?
Yeah.
Because my mic actually broke, and I'm wondering if it fell the other day, and I'm wondering if it's connected, but you can hear me okay.
Yeah, I can hear you fine.
Okay.
Were you reading Little Nemo when that happened?
No, I pulled of course it was a laptop accident. I think I was on with Kristen, and I pulled the laptop over to show something over here, and I forgot the mic was attached and to my laptop. And so everything crashed and the mic attachment fell apart. So the mic's okay. It's just the cord broke that connects the mic. So, Schwagen's here. This is way past my bedtime. Yeah. Whoa, it's like 4 to 6, 2 in the morning, 2:30 in the morning there.
Man, that's impressive that you not only know all your international fans, but you know what time it is when they're watching.
I actually do know where Super Laugh Hard's in Scotland.
Thank you.
Warren Weaver is in America. Hello, Warren. How's it going? Cycle's trying to give his dog a haircut. New Spooey. Nice. Cycle says, I'm sending just stuff by Jasper, Nate, Josh, Harkham, and I don't know who else I forget. Oh, yeah. Noah Van Sciver's new Blammo. Right.
Ooh. Have you read any Noah Van Sciver?
Not really, but the stuff Cycle sent me to my email address, which is this. If you want to send me email, there it is. Omnidogvault2 gmail.com. Cycle sent me a bunch of the stuff from Blammo.
Yeah.
Really interesting.
Yeah, Noah Van Sciver's great, and I think you would like him. He's kind of like the, like I know you like Evan Dorkin and Daniel Klaus, and like those like one man anthology kind of cartoonists. And Noah Van Sciver is very much like the kind of like the next generation of that. Like I think he's in his late 30s, early 40s at this point. So he's been at it a long time. But his stuff, I think he's one of the best like current storytellers. Like his stories just flow so nicely in his artwork. And so if you send me Noah Van Sciver stuff, I'd be interested to hear if you like that.
No,
he's really good.
Is it slice of life stuff? That's what the
oh yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
I dig slice of life stuff.
Yeah.
So
it's all autobio comics for sure.
Oh, I'm all in.
Yeah.
Axel says 2:22 a.m. where he is. No, I'm not blaming Kristen for my broken computer. I'm blaming Kristen for my broken mic cord. If we're blaming Kristen, let's get it straight, Mr. Awesome. Let's see. What's very fine condition doing here? Isn't it past your bedtime, Grandpa? Holy smoke. Get the Geritol out and get hopping.
I'm trying to see if I have any Noah available.
Let's see. Oh, here's Lars from Norway. Would not the introduction of Vertigo mark the start of a new era? Interesting. Was that about 88, 89, the Vertigo era? The new golden age? I like the golden Omnidog age. That starts at 2008.
I think 2008 kind of lines up with when the first Omnibus came out too, doesn't it?
2008, is that when Fantastic Four came out?
It was around that time. I'm sure if Nomar's still in the chat, he can tell you.
I'm not interested in that guy's opinion on anything. What are you talking about? Let's see. The Chromium Age, Digital Age, Inman here. I heard some people into CGC grading refer to the mid 80s era to late 90s as Copper Age. Okay. That's what I've heard.
One thing I don't understand too is like the dwindling value of metal as these ages go on. So it's like it almost makes it seem like comics get worse, if you will.
I see what you're saying. We started off with gold.
Yeah, then it's like, oh, now we're in copper. And, yeah, and then like you said, aluminum, or somebody said that earlier.
Yeah,
like, comics keep getting worse.
Okay, I'm making you a mod right now. Just a sec. I got to figure out how to do it. Oh, I didn't do a couple things that I was supposed to do before I went live. Let's see. Somebody send me the link to my channel. Wait a sec. Let's see. No, that's not it. Okay, Omnidog's Vault. Your channel. Wonder if it has it live. Baturdays. Okay. Live. Oh, okay. Wait, I think I can do this. Very fine condition. What are you doing in the chat?
Is there something you need me to take care of for social media with your channel link?
Yeah, I'm stealing you. I'm totally stealing you. Brave and the Boys. Okay, wait a sec. Go to channel. Add as a moderator. I'm making you a super moderator, Jake. Oh, standard or managing? Can manage block? Can review music? I can't choose both.
There's different levels of moderating.
Yeah, there's managing moderator. Can manage. Oh, Cycle Cleveland. What's this mean? Okay, managing sounds like it's the big deal. So I'll make you. Boom! You're in charge of everything now, Jake.
Whoa! What happened to producer James Abel? Did he get demoted?
No, he still has his power.
Okay.
He's the superpower.
I know he's like the super producer. He that's what his title should be. He's like the guy.
Producer, you mean?
Yeah. He's like the guy in the back that whenever the big radio shows, they're like, "Hey, can you find me this link for that thing?" And then he goes, pops up with it.
Oh, you mean James?
Yeah.
Oh, I thought you meant Omar. James is not a super loser. James, yeah, he's my
Oh,
super
no.
producer.
Super
I got
producer,
mixed
yeah.
up. Sorry, James. Didn't mean to get you mixed up with Very Fine Condition. I know how that upsets you. I totally peace and love. I apologize. Nobody wants to be mixed up with Very Fine Condition. Yeah. No. Now, let me give a shout out to a roguish type because actually, roguish, no, I believe you are male. You and I had, we consulted with each other back and forth over 2 days over whether or not to get the Mondo Harley figure. And of course, I didn't want to get it because it's too expensive. So Roguish Type and I were talking a lot together about the pros and cons of getting it. And we didn't want to get FOMO, right? We wanted to discuss it. We wanted to discuss it. What are the pros? What are the cons? We had a day left to get the super deluxe one that's really boss and only $15 more than the other one. So are you okay if I announce this, Roguish Type, that you and I actually did decide to go ahead and get it? Because
It sounds like it was a very responsible choice. You went through and thought about it, and
yeah.
Joaquin, I know he's in the chat. He should be proud of the way you processed that.
Where is he? Wait, I'll come back to this in a sec, Sasmer, if that's a good question. I want to see. I'm in Svalbard. Wait, aren't you?
Is that a real country? Svalbard. I never heard of
that. Josh isn't here to spy for Very Fine Conditions, so Omar has to do it himself. Josh is taking a break. What? Okay, wait. There's my there's my YouTube, which I did find. Thank you, James. Oh, an astonishing Melanie. Shout out to her. She helped me last Saturday, last minute, and what a great co-host she was.
Yeah, she filled in nicely there. It's
Kristen was under the weather. And let's see. Juan's here. What up, Juan?
Juan, that's he joins me on the live streams I do quite a bit for the competitor. So hello, Juan.
Okay, you got managing. It's okay now. Everything's fine. Okay. Wait a sec. Okay. Bronze. Melanie's congratulating Jake for now getting the super. Let's just go back to Sasmer's question because I did see Rodimus in the chat too. I can't find it, so I'm just going to say Sasmer fast. Did he say when did? Okay, I better.
How long were you away from comics?
Oh, here it was. You're right. How long were you away from comics? I would say there's two. Let me think. The Bronze Age is where they lost me. I was about 17, so that puts it at 1976. And then what brought me back was Dark Knight Returns in 1985, and then Watchmen in 86. And I collected single issues from then on till 2008 when I started getting into collected editions. And then 2014 is when I really started getting into collected editions because I discovered Riley's Tumblr page and we became friends on Tumblr. And then since 2014, it's been collected editions only. I sold my entire floppy collection to Third Eye Comics, and to my comic advisor, I sold the rest of them, which was a lot of Silver Age DC. And I'm going to be really unhappy. I'm already unhappy because I had like 10 copies of that what's that dumb comic Lobo debuted
Oh,
in?
it wasn't Legion of Superheroes. It was
Yeah, it was. I and now it's worth serious money. I picked up a bunch at a.
It was a Keith Giffen comic because Keith Giffen was the co-creator, wasn't he?
Okay. Oh, I don't know. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Sure.
Okay. Okay, I'll look it up real fast. I do have a question though about because I know you told that story about how Watchmen and Dark Knight Returns kind of brought you back.
Yeah.
Um, so you spent about 9 years not reading comics.
Wandering in the wilderness.
How did you get a hold of Omega Men is the one that
Mega Man. Thank you. Yeah. I bought like 10. There was this weird magazine store near me that I used to go to pick up the paper from out of town to read the sports scores for my football team. And they had comics, and I found like 10 of those Omega Men in really nice shape. And I thought, oh, Lobo's a decent character. I'll just grab these for 50 cents a piece. And now, well, I mean, I sold those 10 years ago, so I can't really look back and lament. Who knew Jason Momoa was going to be Lobo and that book was going to be worth whatever it's worth now? Yeah, I spent, yeah, I didn't read any comics. I discovered Dark Knight Returns. I was living in LA at the time, and there was a big write-up in the LA Times about it. So I went to, I think it was Golden Apple Comics.
Oh wow.
I remember the guy behind the counter seemed like he was the owner, but apparently there had already been a big there was already a lot of hoopla. Hoopla is the only word I can pull. There was a lot of hoopla about this book, so he already had like a first print of it up on his wall for $50, and he said that's to deter all the tourists from coming in and getting it. And I said, oh, well, I just want to read it because I'm really into this. Sounds really interesting. And he said, yeah, it's a cross between Batman's a cross between Clint Eastwood and whoever it was. And I said, oh, that sounds exciting. I'd love to read it. I'm happy with the second print. And he said, nah, all right, I'll give you this first print for $10. And I said, well, that's nice of you. Thank you. I just want to read it. So,
so you and then you're hooked on from then, like you just started getting floppies again.
Okay, that was 1985. I got floppies of Watchmen, and then Lars is right about Vertigo, because that's when I started getting Sandman and Hellblazer, and I feel like that was the end of the 80s.
Yeah.
And I was also into I can't think. That's when I think that's when McFarlane, also right around that time, 88, 92, somewhere in there. I don't remember. Somebody in the chat knows exactly, but that's when McFarlane came on Spider-Man.
Mm-hmm.
And I thought his art was cool, and I thought the stories were cool. And those comics were already like, I think I paid $10 for Spider-Man 300. And yes, I sold it for a good chunk to pay for my health insurance, because that's what I have to do. And that sort of got me into collecting Marvel floppies and some DC floppies. And then the whole Death of Superman, I collected those. I read and hated Nightfall,
Nightfall.
I will never own those.
So I didn't know you were a McFarlane fan. So did you follow him to Image or anything?
I didn't.
Well,
no. I read the first few issues of Spawn, and it just didn't hook me. Okay. I'm glad it's out there for people that like it. I think it's great. But the Image books, like Blood Kill and Death Man and Death Blade and everything, I didn't really gravitate towards those. But now I look back and I really like the idea of Stormwatch. So I read the Warren Ellis Stormwatch, and then of course the Authority. I think I'm more the tail end with that Wildstorm kind of. I guess that was Jim Lee who created Wildstorm as a separate thing of Image because DC.
Yeah,
bought
I
Storm?
think it started off as an Image imprint, and then he split off because eventually they all had their own offices. Because Liefeld even left when he had Extreme Studios.
Okay.
But then, yeah, because then Wildstorm was its own thing. Because that's when Alan Moore came on with America's Best Comics. Was his
Right.
imprint of
Okay.
Wildstorm. And then Jim Lee sold Wildstorm to DC, and then Alan Moore found himself working for DC again, which he was not happy about.
Okay. Yeah, I love those books like Tom Strong and Promethea.
Yeah, and League of Extraordinary Gentlemen.
Yeah.
And what's the other one? Top 10.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I love Top 10. Here's Rodimus. As the leading Hispanic authority I'm getting a bunch of pings now because of Facebook, which I haven't quit out of. Where's my producer? James, you're my producer. You should have told me to quit out of Facebook. Just a sec.
You gotta hop on that, James.
I'm getting dings on stuff.
It's his revenge for you calling him a super loser.
Sorry, James. Okay. As the leading Hispanic authority on comics on YouTube, I am always challenged to pronounce Spanish by Rodimus Prime Rib, who hails from Puerto Rico. And he says tonight, El gran omniperro con el fabuloso hablador Taylor, desde la BatCave de Sion Sabatina.
I can translate that.
Go for it.
The big Omnidog with the fabulous is talking with the fabulous Taylor, or a fabulous discussion with Taylor on Baturdays in the BatCave.
Right on, man.
I've taken like 7 years of Spanish, but I can't. I'm not fluent.
Why did he capitalize hablador before Taylor?
I don't know.
What is that hablador?
I assume discussion because habla means to speak, or hablar means to speak.
Ah, okay.
I don't. Like I said, I'm not fluent. I've just taken lots of Spanish.
Right. Okay. Here's Johnny. He's from Finland. Well, I have nothing against more modern comics. Appreciate hearing what others have to say about them, but my money and time go to catching up on various comics, artists I missed or loved as a kid. Yeah, that makes sense.
So, to continue the conversation about where you went with comics,
yeah,
I know you then got into like Dan Clowes and Peter Bagg and stuff. How did that come about?
I think I was just at the time. Third Eye didn't exist, so this was in the 90s, and there's a teeny tiny comic store in Alexandria, and that's where I would go every month to find or whenever it came out, where I go to find my Watchmen. And so I kept going there, and I kind of gravitated towards American Splendor by Harvey Pekar. So I'd pick up whatever I could find of his there. And I think one of the guys there said, if you like Harvey Pekar, you should check out Hate. And if you like Hate, you should pick up 8-Ball. And I said, okay. And I got hooked on, as you said, Hate and 8-Ball. I missed the 8-Ball tour when they both toured together, I think in the late 90s.
Yeah. I want a t-shirt with that 8-Ball poster on it so bad. That'd be so cool.
What a great name for a signing.
I know.
The tour, the 8-Ball tour.
Yeah.
So yeah, then I got into like Bill Griffith with Zippy, the Pinhead.
Oh, yeah.
And, I got into like indie comics. So I was let me think. This is so long ago. This is mid 90s. So my daughter was okay. It's cloudy. Yeah, I would pick up whatever indie comics I thought were interesting. I really, really was into slice of life at that point.
So is Harvey Pekar was like your gateway into that then?
Yeah.
Is that also your gateway into R. Crumb, like the R. Crumb Harvey Pekar comics?
Yeah, probably. I think I was into R. Crumb just from growing up and being aware of him.
Okay.
I just went through a box of comics and found a bunch of Zap comics that I forgot I had, so I need to look at those. But yeah, I think seeing his art in American Splendor, and that's amazing that those two work together.
I know, it really is. I wish those were those were collected back in the day. They've been in collections, but they haven't. There's not like I wish Fantagraphics or somebody would pick up and do like a whole definitive like Harvey Picar library kind of thing, because I don't think anything like that exists. Like there's definitely trade paperbacks with this stuff in it, but nothing like this definitive like beginning to end kind of thing. I wish that some company would pick that up. I think Psycho Cleveland is a big Picar fan because I think isn't Picar from Cleveland?
Yeah, he is. He worked in a government office there.
Yeah. And that's actually a kind of a hole in my comic book reading. I haven't read a lot of Picar.
Oh, it's so great, but we also have him to blame for people. Everybody at the time, there almost appeared to be a glut of autobiographical comics.
Oh yeah.
And I was reading them all, and pretty soon I was like, okay, wait. Some of these people can write and draw, and some of these people cannot.
Yeah.
And so I sort of blamed Picar for that, because I can't think of his name because he really pissed me off. He was kind of a decent writer, a little bit, but then he started to copy Crumb's style. And I started reading his comic, and I can't think of who it was, but it really pissed me off. I was like, this is such a poor ripoff of Crumb's comics, and your writing is only mediocre. I am going to stop reading your stuff. Boom. Get out of here.
I have a similar feeling about sitcoms. Like Seinfeld, I think Seinfeld is one of my favorite shows ever. But Seinfeld came out, and it was like that show about nothing with like despicable characters that, or you're not supposed to like. They're all kind of crappy humans when you think about it. So then there's like this glut where every sitcom's like, oh, so we need to have a show about nothing with people that you don't like. And then like all throughout the late 90s and early 2000s, like all the sitcoms were about. And it's like, you're missing like the whole like heart of the show though. Like if you break down Seinfeld, like there actually was something happening and there's actually a reason to care about those characters. So I think that's kind of like the same autobiography thing. Like people probably saw Picar and it's like, oh, so he writes about these boring things that happen in his life, but makes it sound interesting.
Yeah.
Well, they forgot the makes it sound interesting part.
Yeah, exactly. The Svalbard was a joke. It's like the northernmost country in the world. Yeah, I thought you were from the US. Okay. And here's where you can find, thank you, James, where you can find that Harley Quinn 6-scale figure timed edition. Point of Justice story is that we just enabled each other's fiscal responsibility.
I was trying to look because I have in a collected edition the Harvey Picar Incredible Hulk story. Have you ever read that?
The what now?
Yeah, Harvey Picar. Now I have to find it if you've never heard of it. He wrote an Incredible Hulk story.
I did not know that.
It's like the one time he's ever done superheroes. I think there might be one other one he did, but let me find it.
Oh, no way. I didn't know that at all.
All right. Keep talking in the chat while I try to find it.
Okay. Here's Cage. Welcome, welcome. No, my comic advisor is a separate person. He's the one that's helped me since 2014 buying and selling comics to afford healthcare. Omega Man. Oh, here's Jaggernaut. Yes, I was wandering in the wilderness. Good for you, Astonishing Melanie, picking that up. Nice biblical reference. My football team is the LA Rams. And when they moved to St. Louis, my football team was the St. Louis Rams. And now they're back to LA. I did not follow them when they were the Cleveland Rams because old joke. Yeah, no, I wasn't born yet when they were the Cleveland Rams. That's not quite true, but yeah, they did have a lot of that stuff there too. I just wanted the newspaper, but I did notice that other stuff. That's right. I discovered you, Uncanny Omar, and I gave you your name. Golden Apple is the celebrity comic store. Samuel Jackson has a pull list there. Oh, here's Larry's Library. who still hates the term floppy. Okay, we'll call him singles. Avasatani. Hey, just were you into underground comics, Williams, Shelton, etc. back in the 70s? Or were you more of a DC Marvel guy? I was just a teenager back then. I was aware of underground comics. There wasn't a place where I grew up to get them. I grew up in Carmel, and that's when I got my DC and maybe Marvel off the rack in the drugstore. That's how old I am. 12 cents. And then they went to 15 cents. That was a shock.
Did you read The Fabulous Furry Freak Brothers?
I have read it, and it wasn't my thing, but yeah, I know about it. So there's no place to find those comics. You had to go to San Jose to a comic store, actually, like a real comic store in San Jose, if you wanted to find that kind of thing.
You know what? I think I might have to disappoint you. I think it might not be in the book I have. So this is Strange. Have you ever seen this before?
No.
This is Strange Tales, and it's like a standard size hardcover. That's Pete Bagg on the cover there.
Yeah.
And that's like a lot of underground cartoonists doing Marvel stories.
What?
There's 2 volumes of this, though. It's like do you get the Bizarro one that came out?
I do have Bizarro, yeah.
Okay. It's kind of like this, but this one is cooler cartoonist than I think. Even though Evan Dorkin's great. Not to bag on him. But
I love Evan Dorkin.
I don't think the Harvey Pekar story is in here. I think it's in the other volume. Dang it.
Okay.
Oh, Johnny Ryan. I know you like him. He's doing the he does the Punisher in this one.
The only reason I don't dig Johnny Ryan is I'm not a fan of bathroom humor, and that's what he's really strong on. So peace and love to people out there who love Johnny Ryan, including Steve from Third Eye, who first turned me on to him and turned me off when I read it.
That wasn't hard to do then.
No, I know. I don't know. I've just never been into that. Oh, here's Josh. How's it going, buddy? He's calling you the voice of Omar.
I do all his writing of his posts and stuff. Okay, so there are 2 other reasons to buy this volume, though. Like I said, there's 2 volumes. This one has, I know you like Pete Bagg.
Yeah, there you go.
The megalomaniacal Spider-Man.
And it's Pete Bagg drawing that?
Yeah, it's Pete Bagg doing the whole comic.
How have I never heard of this?
It's like the darkest Spider-Man story you'll ever read. It's such dark humor. And then he did the story after that, what's called The Incorrigible Hulk.
Marvel let this happen?
Yeah, this was that weird period in the early 2000s this came out, I think.
That's awesome.
Trying to look at the indicia here.
Yes.
This book was printed. This hardcover is in 2010. Oh, 2002 is when it first came out.
2002.
When these comics were coming out.
What's it called again?
Strange Tales. And this is the first. They were collected in 2 standard size hardcovers.
And when did you get it? Did you get it back when it first came out?
No, I got this a couple years ago.
Are they super out of print?
I think the trade paperbacks are pretty easy to find, which isn't a bad deal because, like I said, this is standard size, so it's not like oversized or anything.
Yeah.
But there's 2 volumes. Volume 2 has Thor on the cover, I think.
And you think that might be where the Harvey Pekar story is?
Yeah, I think that's where the Harvey Pekar Hulk story is. And it was one of the last comics he wrote too before he passed it, if I remember correctly.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So actually, let me see if I can get caught up a little bit. Oblador Taylor equals Taylor Talks. Okay.
Oh, okay.
Taylor Talks, so Oblador Taylor, but great job as always. Thank you. Brave and Boy's already wielding his power. Did you put Josh on timeout? Josh, have you been timeout? Okay. The H is capitalized. You're in Finland. How do you know about Spanish? Capitalized because he translated it. Okay, fair. You have to wait 5 minutes. You can't.
He doesn't even understand the power he has.
He doesn't understand it. Hit that like button, everybody. Johnny was the first like tonight. So up, official Scott Stapp is here. Hello, my friends. We meet again. Thank you for being here. Let me read Lars' comment. I was given Watchmen. Oh yeah, V for Vendetta is something I collected in single issues, and the complete runs of Sandman and Hellblazer also in singles. Those are two things I had all 300 of Hellblazer and all 75 of Sandman.
You had all 300 single issues of Hellblazer?
I did. That's
so when
one
you, so when you sold those, do you sell them as a lot of 300 or?
They were in the collection that Third Eye bought back in about 2015 or 14 or so. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. I'm getting more caught up. Let's see. 8:44. Okay. I'm only 15 minutes behind. I live a 1.5 mile walk from the restaurant on the cover of American Splendor 1. Right on. Hey, Cage, I have these hardbacks and I've been meaning to read them and do a review on Herbie.
Oh, I want those hardcovers. That's something I'm always trying to find.
Yeah, those I got them a long time ago.
Because those aren't DC archives. They're something else, aren't they?
Yeah, I feel like they're Dark Horse.
That's right, they're Dark Horse. Because they're Dark Horse. Yeah, Dark Horse did like those archives that were kind of like the DC archives, but
yeah. Kane, welcome. I'm all about biblical references. Yo. He's okay. We won't mention his name. Let's see. Okay, wait. People are talking to Melanie in there. The internet tells me that Harvey Pekar worked on a story in Strange Tales 2, Volume 1, 3.
Issue 3, probably.
Issue 3 from 2011, one of 14. Okay, so...
Yeah, this is Strange Tales 1, so Strange Tales 2 is the other one. And it has, like I said, it has Thor on the cover. I don't know who does the art, because it's not Peter Bagg that does the Thor on there. But
okay, I don't think I can go to bed until I have acquired those tonight. I'll never sleep now that I know those are out there.
Yeah, now that you know Harvey Pekar's in one and Pete Bagg's in the other one, you have to get both.
What? How did I not know about this? Astonishing Melly says Omar fell asleep. He drank a lot of wine. Oh, damn! I should call him now. Melanie, tell me when he wakes up, because then I want to call him and get him on the air. Warren has seen that book. Larry says, all right, now let's all age ourselves with the cover price of comics when we started buying them. He's at 40 cents, and it quickly went up from there. So I was kind of on the tail end of the 40-cent covers.
Well,
he is young, $3.99 and $4.99. How much were comics when you started, Taylor?
I mean, when I started buying, it's hard to remember because I was never buying them like when I was a little kid. So I was born in 87. So when I was a little kid, like I was getting like cheap like back issues of like G.I. Joe and Transformers and stuff was what I was like into back then. But cover price, I think probably $1.25, I would assume.
Okay. Yeah, mine was 12 cents. Then it went to 15 cents. I feel like at the same time, well, I can't remember. I think it went to 20. This was DC. It went to 20 cents. And then at the same time, they put out these 25-cent comics that were called 100-page super spectacular.
Yeah.
And this is actually going to dovetail into our topic. We're only an hour in, and this is actually early for us to actually talk about the topic. And I don't know that we'll talk that much, but in those 100-page super spectaculars, there'd be a Superman story, a new one, and then it would be filled with Golden Age stories and early Silver Age stories. So like that's where I was exposed to the Vigilante, Seven Soldiers of Victory, those kind of books. There'd be and they were all characters that didn't get their own title, but they were like backup features in other books from the 40s and 50s.
Yeah.
And that's what really sparked my interest in the golden and early silver age, was reading those stories, because I had discovered them for myself for the first time. I knew comics existed back then, but I golden age comics were out of reach for me as far as money goes. My grail was always All-Star 3, the first Justice Society meeting.
Oh, yeah. Cover. Is that where they're sitting all around the table?
Yeah, exactly. And that's, but when I was 13, that book was probably like $150 or something.
Wow.
I didn't have $150. Not for a comic book. Wait, what's going on here? Why is Jake texting me? Oh, he got his cat, and it's, oh, what a cute cat. It's named Nightwing.
Oh, he's got a bow tie.
Yeah, look at that. What a cute cat. I don't even like cats, and look at that cat. Now I like cats.
How did you get that cat to wear that?
Yeah, Jake, how did you do that? He sent me some videos, but I didn't have a chance to use them. I guess you're supposed to imagine that it's this.
Oh, okay.
I don't know. I'm not sure, but it's cool that it's named Nightwing. Where was I? Okay, so that's how I discovered those early comics. Now you're a young guy, and you and I have formed a friendship over Silver Age comics.
Yeah.
You'll text me or DM me in Facebook for advice on, is Supergirl 2 Omni any good, and Legion of Superheroes and things like that. So you and I have formed a friendship over that. And I think you're kind of an outlier maybe for your age. I don't know that your age genuinely gets into early comics like that, Silver Age comics.
So what's wrong with me? Is that what you're asking?
Well, no, no, I'm actually asking you, what do you like about Silver Age comics? I mean, I know what I like, because I grew up with them and they're fun for me, but I think it's interesting that you're a younger guy. And I totally get why somebody your age would dig something more like Marvel Now or Rebirth or something more up to date. Because even I admit, Silver Age writing ain't the best, and we get a lot of good stuff to choose from now. Well, I understand, but what is it that's drawn you to the Silver and Bronze Age books?
That is an interesting question, because I grew up, like I said, it's like the early to mid 90s is when I was like a kid, I guess, in comics. And so that's like the Extreme Image era. You'd think that would be what I would have like nostalgia for, I guess. Because I think obviously what you're saying is like you're attracted to it because like it's like a nostalgic thing. Obviously, nostalgia is a very powerful thing.
Yeah.
I think so. I thought about this recently, like in the last year or so, because I'm like, why do I like these comics so much? And I think I think if I could psychoanalyze myself, the appeal to it is that one thing that I loved growing up was reruns of the Adam West Batman show. I grew up on on TV Land. They'd show reruns on that every afternoon, and like almost. So I loved it as a child, but then like in my early teens, I started to like get the show and understand like the charm of the show, and like not making fun of it, but like it was like this dry sense of humor, I guess. And I love that show. I'm so obsessed with that show and that movie and stuff. So I think the charm of that show kind of played a role in me liking the charm of that. People say it's cheesy dialogue and stuff like that, but I just call it charming. Of those kind of stories, there's just like a wholesomeness to it, I guess, that I really enjoy and kind of dig. But I think one thing too that I also enjoy is the artwork. That's the artwork that's always going to appeal to me. Like like the photorealistic artwork of like an Alex Ross and whatnot. Like Alex Ross is amazing. I'm not saying he's like untalented or anything, but that doesn't appeal to me as much as like Jack Kirby, like Silver Age artwork. So I love like that more, like that looks like comic book like pop art to me. So I think it's the artwork. and then part of the charm that I loved in like Adam West Batman kind of played a role into it. But also as I'm so in like Marvel Silver Age is like my period. Like that's my favorite era of comics ever. Like I think that's like the greatest accomplishment in all of fiction. Like Shakespeare, like whatever. Like I think Marvel Silver Age with the amount of characters they put out and created and just the great comics they put out in such a short amount of time. But DC Silver Age was something that I found watching your channel. Like I said, when coming back into it, I was like, I want to get into some classic stuff that I've never read before. And it was like the Doom Patrol and Legion of Superheroes and Adam Strange videos he did on those omnibuses.
Mm-hmm.
And I was like, I love the idea of trying to discover something I never read before. So I read those. And I think one thing that appeals to me also, besides the Adam West connection and the artwork, is the fact that they're all kind of like isolated in their own little universe. One thing that like the big two now was kind of daunting, like coming back into comics when I spent so much time out, was that there's all these crossovers and all these things you have to like get into and understand. You have to read this crossover event and this one to understand what's. It was like that's too much. Like I can't do all that. But these like each omnibus, especially DC back then before Crisis, was like they all had all these different pocket universes almost. And that's like one thing, like Legion of Superheroes, like the cast in that comic book is like so vast. Like there's so many different characters. But so you get kind of the appeal of like that massive comic book universe, but in its own small little thing where I can just read these few little omnibuses and not need to read anything else, I guess.
Okay, wait a sec. That's great, and I understand it, but somebody just woke up.
Oh, Omar?
Yeah, just a sec.
Hey, buddy.
Hey, say on the air what you just texted me.
What's that?
Say on the air. You're on the air now, so why don't you say what? Yeah.
What do you want me to say, Jess? Why are you trying to get me canceled? Say what you want to say about the Silver Age, Jess. Say it, man. Say it with your chest, Jess. Say it.
No, you say what you said in the text.
Yeah, I repeated what my friend Jess Bragg said. Is all I did.
Why do I hear Melanie shrieking in the background at you?
She's playing Street Fighter.
Oh.
She's no good at this video game. It's adorable to watch her play. It's like trying to watch her like tell me what to do. Okay. Are you on the air right now? Go
yeah.
Be with your fans.
I am. I'm stealing Taylor Talks comics from you too.
You're interrupting. Go be with Taylor. Taylor's my dude. Are you stealing everyone from me?
I am. Melanie, I've got. Taylor, I've got. Bar.
Maddie, try to get you canceled.
Oh yeah, I'll get. I'll get Maddie.
Now Taylor.
Now I'm coming for your kids next.
Oh my god! I gave you Omnidogs. You try to steal everyone for me.
What?
So I gave you Omnidogs, and now you're trying to steal everyone from me. You and Taylor talk about Silver Age comics. You guys have fun tonight.
All right, buddy.
You know I love you, man.
Oh, love you too.
I can't believe you're gonna read my text out loud.
I am gonna read your text out loud. It's.
Don't do that. Hey, everyone, if you read it out loud, everything I learned about Silver Age comes from Jess Bragg. All right, man, be good.
Okay, take care, buddy.
All right,
bye. I thought Melanie was yelling at him in the background, like, "Stop! You're gonna say something stupid."
I thought so too. I didn't know she was playing Street Fighter, so you could hear that. Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see. Larry had that Strange Tales too.
Oh.
This is a while ago. This is only 10 minutes ago. Oh, here's Lionheart. Buddy.
Hey,
welcome.
Lionheart.
James, I did it for you, buddy. Let's see. Oh, Sasmurf started buying comics at 35 cents. Astonishing, Melanie. What got you into social media representation? I think Melanie's playing Street Fighter now, but feel free to answer.
I got a degree with Penn State for, it's called Digital Journalism and Media. But,
oh.
So it's like a journalism degree. I just graduated last year, actually.
Oh, you did?
Yeah. I went back to school after,
Yeah.
number of years and other careers. But so I was one of the things about that degree is you can do journalism, you can do social media, you can, all kinds of different things. And I'm still looking for a job, but looking for my career. But so I reached out to Omar because he made, I think on Saturday stream, he said like, oh man, I need help with social media. So I reached out to him. I was like, hey, like I could probably do that for you. And then that led into me working for the Competitor, which has been a lot of fun.
The
So
book, the online retailer,
the online competing retailer,
right?
which I go live weekly with them for live shows, which is a lot of fun as well.
Oh, that's cool.
And I write a weekly newsletter. That's the most fun thing I think is writing about comics that I get to do because, like I said, I have the journalism background. I love writing. One day I'm going to write a book, but so that's been a lot of fun too. So that I don't know if that answers Melanie's question or not, but
well, I think it answers the question. Johnny says, "Oh, mid-70s Spectre. He thinks it was 20 cents." Yeah, I got it, buddy. Kane actually forgot the price of paper comics. I never collected single issues, only trade paperbacks. So I think they're on $20, $25. Okay. Oh, newspaper collection was the first comics Josh got. That's interesting. Yeah, especially because of the older reprinted comics on them. Same. Yeah, Captain Marvel Jr. That's how I discovered Captain Marvel too.
I wish those would get came to adopt. I wish they would reprint those old Captain Marvels by Otto Bender. I know we've talked about those before, but
yeah.
Have you ever looked at the Guandaland collections?
I know what you're talking about. Yeah, those fat reprints.
Yeah, because they were on Amazon, but now they're going through Barnes and Noble, I guess. But they reprint all of those public domain comics that are they're public domain, so anybody can print them really. And I have the Captain Marvel collection of the Otto Bender story, where it's like 25. It's the Monster Society of Evil, I think it's called. And it has like all 25 issues in there from that whole story, which is crazy for the time because I think that's one thing. You asked me what appeals to me about this era of comics. It was crazy back then to do a 25 issue story. Like that was not doing a one or two issue story where it crosses over to multiple issues was rare back then. Because I mean, you can speak to this, but like getting comics off the newsstand, like, did you have like a guaranteed place where you can like know you can get each issue? No.
And it got hard in the summer when I went to summer camp. I would give my dad was so great. I'd give my dad a piece of binder paper with all the comics that I read. And I asked him and he would do it. Go to the drugstore every week and pull like every DC comic he could. But back then, I can really only remember one comic that had like a 3-issue arc. Usually it was one and done all the time. There was one Superman, I can't remember if it was Superman or Action. I think it might have been Action, where he first suffers from the Green K virus. And the covers were by Neil Adams, and they were, for me at the time, they were like scary, like because Neil Adams was so realistic, and Superman was dying from the Green K virus. And what did I know? I was 9 years old or whatever. So I really thought he was dying. So I got those and I'm like, they're killing Superman. What? And so and they figure it out by the end, but that was the only 3-issue arc I can remember there. I mean, that changed obviously in the 70s, for both publishers. And then of course things went nuts when there was Crisis on Infinite Earths. I did my best at the time to get the main event. Okay, let's see. Yeah, that was 1985, right?
Yeah, it was 85 was when Crisis, so right around the Watchmen Dark Knight Returns.
Yeah, and so I remember going crazy trying to get all the tie-ins to it, and it tied in like 50 books, and I was like, I am going to get all of these and I am going to read them. And by the time I collected them all, I look. Superman held the dying Supergirl in his arms. Spoiler alert: they killed Barry Allen, my favorite Flash. I was like, okay, I'm done. Bye. I'm not into it. So that's when I walked away from those comics and then picked them back up, I think, a little bit later.
Yeah. And I know like the Galactus trilogy from Marvel is one of the ones that crossed over. That was like 3 issues too. But that's the reason why they couldn't cross over. It's because you only got your comics at like the drugstores and stuff. So like it wasn't a guarantee that you can get the next issue.
Right.
Like, you would go there and hope that you can get it. It wasn't like you didn't have like a pull list like you can today where you like say, I want every issue of this.
Yeah.
So the fact that Otto Bender, I mean, in the golden age, Otto Bender and CC Beck had that idea, crossed over 25 issues. Like, it's such an ambitious thing. But the one and done stories, I think, appeals to me too, because like you get so much story packed into one issue. I feel like it would take like modern comics like 6 issues plus to have like the same amount of story. So one of the things that I always kind of like sales pitch these older omnibuses to people, I'm like, well, if you think about it, you get like 30 stories in there. Modern omnibus, you're only getting like 5 because they take like 6 issues to tell one story.
Yeah. Well, that's what eventually drove me to collected editions, because I had this mountain of cardboard, those special white cardboard pull boxes where comics
long
went.
boxes. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. And I had a special shelf on the floor built for them and everything. And this is in the old house. And I realized that there wasn't one and done issues. Like Hellblazer went for 6 or 7 issues for a story. There was all these 6-issue story arcs. And I got really confused because I couldn't keep up with all the various arcs. And that's what drove me to collected editions, because the whole thing was in a collected edition. If it was a trade or a hardcover or an omnibus, whatever it was, that made it a lot easier to read. But you're right. Going back to when like my dad would pull the comics, I would have giant holes in my collection. And I had a brother that lived in Los Angeles. So I would go down to visit him every summer. He's 14 years older than I am. So he was already like an adult with an established life. And he would take me to stores that had big boxes on a wall of old comics. And I could go through them and say, I don't have this. I don't have this. I don't have this. And my brother's like, how do you know you don't have this? And I go, I can tell. And I'm just like, I don't have this. I don't have this. I don't have this. And it was mostly, it was all DC at that point. I didn't really get into Marvel till probably when I was 15. And I only got into Spider-Man and Captain America with Falcon. That was the era that I was into Spider-Man. So yeah, there were giant holes when you even if you went to the drugstore every week, there was no guarantee the book you wanted would be there. Like,
yeah, because back then the way there wasn't like a distributor, it was just like the drugstores and stuff would say like, give me 100 Marvel books or whatever it was, and they would get like they wouldn't even know which ones they were going to get. Like, it was just like that's the way the distribution model was from the companies.
Yeah, and so there would always be gaps in my collection. It was weird. You were like rolling the dice, and I didn't know any better at the time. I was just like a distribution model. I didn't know that. I was just like, damn, I must have missed Green Lantern 70 or something. Fortunately I pulled Green Lantern 76, which is still in my collection. I have that graded in a safe deposit box, and I think I'm going to be buried with that. That book is so special to me that I don't think I'm ever going to be able to part with it. I'm going to be on a podcast that I really should be talking about now, but I forget the name of it. But his name's Chris Barga, and he has a podcast, and we're going to talk all about just Green Lantern 76. It's going to be epic. Once we get closer, I'll start advertising for it.
Hold on, I need you, because the Silver Age Green Lantern Omnibus Volume 2 ends with issue 75.
Yeah.
So what is issue 76? What is this?
That's when social consciousness comes into comics.
Oh, Traveling Heroes.
Sorry?
Is it the Hard Traveling Heroes?
Exactly. That's what they ended up calling it. Yeah, from 76 to 89. And Neil Adams got so behind that there's at least a couple of fill-in issues. I think one of them was like a 100-page thing with a bunch of Golden Age Green Lantern and some Silver Age Green Lantern in it. There are at least 2 fill-in issues through there. But yeah, that's what started.
I have that. I have the deluxe hardcover of that.
Right. I have the absolute of it. And I still had, that's one run that I had with the Guy Gardner debut and the John Stewart debut. I had all those and I managed to get those graded, and they helped pay for my health insurance. That was the only, before collected editions in 2008 or whatever, I couldn't let go of those single issues because that was the only way to read them.
Mm-hmm.
If I went to a comic book con, it was like, one of those small shows that I always go to around here. And there was a bunch of Silver Age Flash, including like the debut of Kid Flash and a bunch of other things. I picked up some, it cost me money, but that was the only way I could read those stories. I actually bought them to read.
Yeah. Even when they did reprints, because I know Marvel throughout the 70s had a lot of reprint titles of the Silver Age stuff, but they're called like Marvel Tales or whatever it was. But even that, you couldn't really follow easily which issues they're reprinting. So it's kind of hard to there was not an easy way to read these old comics, as I would say. But
right. Okay, now I need to address the cat comments because I don't even like cats. Right, I don't. Cats are agents of Satan. Jess, he has my quote from January of 2023. And Roguish Type, now that cat is actually a very sweet cat. Its name is Lily, and it has bonded with my wife. My wife will be sitting out on the patio, and that cat jumps up on Patty and lets her pet it and purr and everything. So that cat's actually pretty sweet. When we had our dog, they had a couple of meetups that did not go well for the cat. That cat was like, shoo, out the yard. And I was always waiting for that to happen. Reaper, my buddy from Australia, when we get volume 1 and 2 reviews of Superman versus Meshi, Jess, I've heard of that manga. It's Superman eating or something, right?
it's like eating ramen on the cover.
Yeah.
Which I want to read that because I always like the. Did you ever read a Bat manga?
I had it, but I had that book, but I ended up I bought a lot of manga thinking, okay, this is cool.
Yeah.
Like Monster and Death Note, that big chonky all-in-one.
Oh, yeah.
And a bunch of Junji Ito. And Ito I can kind of follow, but it's not new news that I have trouble reading.
Right.
Manga.
This book itself, though, is super cool. It's like a coffee table book that
is
and you can see on the cover, do you have this copy?
I didn't.
So this is the Chip Kidd book, and it does read right to left, but not only does it have the old manga in it. Did I say right to left, right? Yeah, the manga
backwards.
But it has all like the Japanese ephemera and stuff they had, like the toys and pinball, like there's a pinball machine.
Oh, whoa.
Like Chip Kidd, his books are always amazing in design. But basically when the Adam West show came out, in Japan, they're like, well, we needed to do something about that. And they had so then it also has manga in it, like the same manga pages of the story.
Of Batman?
Yeah, it's all Batman.
Okay.
And there's even crazy characters like this guy with a skull mask.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I can see that.
But basically they went to the mangaka whose name escapes me at the moment. And they're like, watch some Adam West show. Here's the comic books they're coming out with over there, and just make a manga of it. There's Clayface.
That actually looks really cool.
Yeah, this book itself is just a cool artifact because it has, like I said, a combination of the manga, but then also a lot of the cool Japanese toys and stuff they had.
Yeah.
Back then.
That's really cool.
I love this book. It's
yeah,
just
I can see why.
It's just a cool, like, this historical document of how a different culture interpreted Batman.
Yeah.
And it's like this oversized kind of thing. I don't know.
I didn't see that. Mine's more, the one I had was more digest sized.
Yeah, those are the ones that DC put out, which were like reprints. And this actually is like photo scans of it. So you even get like the yellow paper in it and stuff.
Oh, cool.
But it's all very like crystal clear.
Yeah. Lars says, I still like Silver Age Legion of Superheroes, and the Bronze Age was what I grew up with. That's cool. New Spooey, I started reading Silver Age Green Lantern recently. Seems like most issues are Hal trying to convince Carol to date him and some sort of temporary crisis getting in the way each time. Yeah.
They would have those tropes, and it was because, again, like we said, you didn't know if you're going to get every single issue. So I think Stan Lee had the quote that was like, every issue could be someone's first issue. So you kind of had to like reiterate everything. But again, that's charming to me. Like, my favorite one is I've been reading Flash lately, like the Carmine Infantino. Is it Robert Kanigher? Yeah. And like every issue, Iris West is like, you're the slowest man ever. You're always late to everything. It's just such a funny thing as the reader, obviously, because you're like, he's the Flash. Like,
you know, this is what I love about Flash, and I'll say it in my overview because I need to overview the 3 books, even though maybe one of them's out of print. That's okay. They'll reprint it. Is that they did a thing with Carmine Infantino with Robert Kanigher. They would have Infantino just draw a cover of whatever he thought was interesting, and then Kanigher would have to write the story that went to the cover.
Yeah,
that went on for like a few issues because they even used the same cover twice and gave it a different story and made a big deal out of it.
Yeah, because that actually, that's funny that you say that, because I was reading this one today, the Adam Strange one. And in the intro, I forget who does the intro, but they write about that process that Carmine Infantino had, where he would draw the cover, and then so it's kind of like a weird thing. Like, you always hear about Marvel Method, where Stan Lee would like write a synopsis, or they would like, like kind of BS it with the artist, say like, okay, we're gonna do this story, and the artist had to draw every single panel, and then Stan would fill in the dialogue afterwards. But like this Infantino like method isn't talked about a lot, where he draws the cover, and then that's like, well, that's the story we're going with. It's just an interesting way to think about storytelling. I don't know.
Yeah, it is. And that you picked up that Adam Strange Omni. That's another thing I was collecting back in the 90s because I liked Infantino's art. I think it starts with issue 53 and goes through like issue 98 or somewhere 101, something like that, before somebody else takes over. I got him specifically because of the Infantino art, and then it turned out I liked the stories, but that was the only way I could get those stories.
Yeah, it started with Showcase 17, 18, 19, and then when it goes to Mystery in Space 53 is when Infantino takes over. Which the first 3 issues were by Mike Sikowski, who I don't think you're a big fan of, right?
No.
That's interesting to me, because I think, does he do the art for
Justice League?
And you said that was when I'm asking you like, what's the good stuff? What do I need to pick up from this era? Justice League was one that you weren't so hot on. Well, was it because of Sikowski art?
Yeah, and God bless him. I know he felt, even back then, fans would criticize his art because it's so blocky, but he got a ton of work because he was so fast.
Yeah.
And now I look back on it sort of nostalgically, but I don't know. I just never had a good feeling for those books, even though I collected them all and read them all. They would always have these boss Carmine Infantino covers on them. Like, wait, one sec. I'll show you my 2 favorite that I just got. They would always have, this is when the crises always started. Crisis on Earth 2. This is later in the run. This is Justice League 55 and 56. And I found these for cheap in really good shape. And I was going to frame them.
Oh, the single issues?
Yeah. But this is, will a grown-up Robin win See, he's from Earth 2, and that's his costume. And everybody else, there's Our Man, Wonder Woman. Wait, who else is there? Our Man, Wonder Woman, Mr. Terrific. Yeah, they're on the cover. And so you get this really boss, amazing. Where do you see the next cover? The next cover might be my favorite cover of all time. It was those were actually two-part stories that started out, Crisis on Earth 2 and Crisis on Earth X. I love this cover.
Oh, that one's been homaged like to death. Like there's so many homages to that.
It's those guys, Justice Society versus the Justice League by Carmine Infantino, and was it Anderson too? Yeah, it's Infantino with Anderson inks, which is unbelievable. And so these purple covers and these dark blue covers are really hard to find because of the spine ticks on the side.
Okay.
So it's hard to find these in really nice shape, and these barely have any spine ticks, and they were not expensive because everybody wants Spider-Man 300. Nobody's looking for these,
right? Or like the first appearance issues, that kind of thing.
Yeah, but
that is amazing.
Yeah, and then you open it, and it was Mike Sekowsky art. Now, I will say Sid Green inked him in these two issues, and Sid Green was a good inker. So the art's better than just plain old Mike Sekowsky art. Sid Green was a great inker and worked with Gil Kane a lot, and for Green Lantern. And I tried to fit these in the frames. My wife's the big framer, and I have comic book frames, and these are too big for the comic book frames.
Really?
So I've got, Silver Age books are a little wider than Modern Age books.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, well, I found that out the hard way because there are Silver Age protectors bags, and now I realize, and there's Modern Age protector bags, and those comic frames apparently were for Modern Age. So I'll find some Adam Hughes covers and stick them in those frames, and find some other way to frame these.
So that cover you're holding up with Justice Society, that was like a gimmick, like they would visit the Justice League like once a year or something, right?
Yeah, that's what started the whole Crisis thing. So
did Justice Society have a normal like ongoing comic during the Silver Age?
No, what started it was Flash 123, which is that famous cover of the Golden Age Flash, Jake.
Yeah, the Flash of Two Worlds.
Yeah, the Flash of Two Worlds, exactly. That's what started the whole thing, because they wanted to work in their old characters into the books, and so they made it up that the Justice Society existed on Earth 2, and our Justice League was on our Earth, and through interdimensional hijinks, they could visit each other, and they were always solving a crisis on Earth X or Earth 2 or Earth 3, where we were introduced to the crime syndicate, who, like Owlman and Woman and Power Ring, those guys. So that's what led to Crisis on Infinite Earths, because eventually the crisis would be like yeah, exactly. Yeah. I got about a year's worth of health insurance for that book.
This was actually my second idea for the thumbnail, was to try to maybe use this cover with both like your head on this guy and my head on this one.
That would have been cool,
because it was kind of like like the elder statesman, and then the young guy that likes Silver Age for some reason. But
there was a reason I had Facebook open, because I had it open to your really cool comic. Oh heck. Yeah, you created a really cool comic that advertised the show. That would have been great, putting our heads on that. But that's how it started, like back in the early 60s. And then there were so many Earths that's why Crisis on Infinite Earths happened, because they wanted to get it down to just one Earth. And well, we've already seen Earth 2 from New 52. And then we saw in New 52 the crime syndicate show up. So there's already a bunch of new Earths in DC. And I don't know, what other Earths there are right now in current DC. But that's why they had to do the Crisis, because there were too many Earths that existed and it got all out of hand.
Yeah, that's one thing I wish I don't know. Was there enough like Justice Society appearances you think they could put just their appearances into a collection? Because I feel like that'd be kind of a cool collection, like just the Justice Society issues in that era.
Well,
Or maybe like an Earth 2.
They do have
Silver.
a trade collection 1 through 5 of Crisis. They call it. I have it in the other room. It's like Crisis on Earths or Crisis on Infinite Earths or whatever. It's all the Justice League, Justice Society crossovers, and it's 5 books. That's crying for an omnibus or some kind of oversized hardcover treatment, because I think those old characters like the old Atom, the old Green Lantern, Dr. Fate, Dr. Midnight, Starman, Spectre, the old Hawkman, that's where Black Canary came from, was Earth 2, and now she's a permanent resident here. Wildcat. I thought those characters boss.
I've seen those books. Those are like the prelude to Crisis. I don't know what they're called, but they're like before Crisis though.
Yeah.
Like I've seen those hardcovers. Like those, but those are collecting like old Silver, Bronze Age stuff before Crisis that kind of leads up to it. Or is it...
exactly.
Oh,
there's 5.
Down them.
They're just trades, but they collect all the Crisis books.
Interesting.
Yeah, I had the first one somewhere around here. I CGC'd it, and I can't get myself to sell it because weirdly, these comics have a hold on me, and some of these books I just can't sell. The covers are so cool.
Well, that's just nostalgia, you know?
Yeah, it's got a strong pull on me. And I apologize to the chat that I haven't gotten to much. Okay, we're still back on calling Omar. This is Omar's. This is my conversation with Omar. Taylor, you need to get on social media immediately to do damage control of this text title. Yeah, this text that he sent me, not for public knowledge.
I do have some public relations classes that I took in school too, so I can do some damage control.
I agree with this, Mr. Awesome. Metamorpho is an underappreciated Silver Age gem. And when Sandman had Death of Element Girl, that was amazing. That was a really touching comic.
Yeah, Metamorpho, I think the first comic I read him in was those Batman and the Outsiders. And that's not Silver Age, that's like Bronze Age, I think. How did you feel about Batman and the Outsiders?
I ordered my first copies of that from Rick Nelson, my buddy up in Vermont, was selling.
Oh, the hardcovers?
These are trades.
Oh, okay. Because they had 3 standard size hardcovers that collected the whole Batman and the Outsiders before Batman leaves the team, kind of thing. I think there's a video on my channel too, actually, where I do an overview of those books.
Oh, James, can you find that for us?
Yeah, Batman and the Outsiders.
Comics doing Batman and the Outsiders. Yeah, that's a title I'm not familiar with, and so I'm going to start getting familiar with.
Yeah, I had Jim Aparo. Jim Aparo was on the art. Oh, thank you, Melanie. Jim Aparo was on the art for the first part of the run, and I think Alan Davis takes over for the last part.
Oh,
yeah, it's got great art throughout the whole run, but I will say that the pitch of it in the first issue is like so intriguing because Batman is fighting with the Justice League and he wants to save Lucius Fox, and Lucius Fox is like captured by some foreign country. I forget which country it is, but the Superman's like, no, we're the Justice League of America. If we go do that, then we're gonna have like all these foreign issues with other governments. We can't interfere. And Batman's like, forget you, I'll get my own team. So then he collects the Outsiders and they go and kind of go on this other mission, you know. So that's like they're supposed to be like this like special ops kind of group where they go on these other missions that the Justice League won't touch or whatever.
Like Uncanny X-Force?
Yeah, kind of. So like, that was the pitch and that was the first issue. But the one thing that was disappointing is like that gimmick kind of goes away very quickly. Like then they just become like an average superhero team.
Oh,
So it's not. But I still liked it a lot. Like I wish they would put that into an omnibus because it's like 32 issues, like perfect for an omnibus, and I would definitely buy that in a heartbeat. It's just like the initial gimmick was like, oh man, that sounds amazing. Like I love that idea, but so that goes away. But the stories are still good, and it has like Metamorpho and Katana makes her debut there too.
okay.
And I forget who else is on the team. Oh, Geoforce. Geoforce? Is that his name? He's the older brother of
Familiar with
the Judas Contract in Teen Titans. Who's the girl? It's her older brother. I'm drawing a blank now. But he's on the team, and then I'm trying to think. It's been so long since I read it. But it does because it has the same formula as do you read the new Teen Titans with like the Wolfman Perez era?
I read it in floppy. Oh, sorry, Larry. I read it in singles back in the day, but I did not pick up the Omnis. I kind of regret not picking those up.
I sold mine and I regret it.
Oh yeah,
I like to have those back. But it had like the same formula, which I think is such a great way to start a new superhero team, where it has like 3 core characters that you are familiar with, and then also introduces like 2 or 3 more new characters, brand new. And so it's like you buy it for like the Robin and the Wonder Girl and Kid Flash, but then you're gonna fall in love with like Raven and Starfire and Beast Boy. Which I guess Beast Boy was from Doom Patrol, but still like so Batman and the Outsiders had that same formula where it's like 3 characters that you're familiar with, and then 3 brand new characters. Oh, Black Lightning, he's one of the other ones.
Oh, okay, yeah, that's who's on the cover of the books I'm getting.
Yeah.
All those people you just mentioned. Oh, we're back on when my dad would get me comics. Sorry, I'm way behind. Oh my gosh, I'm half an hour behind. If you're still here, Reaper, thank you. He was a lovely guy. Okay, this is a good one. New Spooey. I still remember when Omar was asked whether Pharaoh Lad or Matter Eater Lad with a better Legion of Superhero character, and Omar chose Matter Eater Lad. That glare just gave him though.
So that's something I wanted to talk about too, is Pharaoh Lad, because I am in volume 2 of Legion of Superheroes, so I haven't gotten to the Death of Pharaoh Lad story yet. Like I'm like, okay. I'm getting closer. Like I have that pegged in the table of contents, and I'm like, because I know it's a story you talk about a lot. But I haven't even met Pharaoh Lad yet. So did he debut like just a few issues before that?
Yeah, he debuted, I think, towards the end of the book.
Okay.
And he overpowers Superboy to go out and I don't want to ruin it for you, but you know.
Oh, that's fine. I know how it goes. Like he sacrifices himself. Yeah.
Spoiler: Pharaoh Lad does die. But there's the sun. I think it's the Sun Eater or something. It's a giant sun that eats other universes' suns, and they have like a bomb they can set off in the middle of it, and Pharaoh Lad wrestles it from Superboy and takes off. He turns his shell into not lead because that'll melt, but super hard iron, I guess.
Yeah.
And takes the bomb into the middle of the sun, and it explodes. And then like a couple issues later, I have the issue on my comic rack. There's a super eerie cover that appears that you'll get to, where it's the ghost of Pharaoh Lad, and he's on the Legion headquarters. He's this green phantasm, and it's called The Ghost of Pharaoh Lad. And it's actually a really touching, cool story where his spirit actually does do something.
Here, I'll find it right here. Because this was like during when Jim Shooter started writing it too.
Yeah, when he was like 12 years old or whatever.
Right. Oh, I can't. It's right there. The pages won't separate. Oh, there it is. The Ghost of Pharaoh Lad.
There it is. Yeah. So they have him like accusing. That looks like a Kurt Swan cover, I think. But yeah, they have him like haunting the Legion, but he's really his spirit. They're like, did his spirit really help us, or what happened here? And then the last panel is actually really touching.
That was Kurt Swan. You're right.
Thank you.
Look at that eye. I just read the story where Lightning Lad loses his arm.
Oh yeah,
and he has like
yes.
this robot arm and stuff. That's one thing that too, like when I was watching your channel and you're talking about Doom Patrol and Legion of Superheroes, that endeared me too, is like there were actual consequences with these characters. Like I think that's one of the bad raps that these eras get to, is like there weren't a lot of consequences. Like it was just kind of like everything was tied up at every issue kind of thing. But like that first volume, a couple characters die, and it's like in Legion of Superheroes, and that's the thing. I don't know. It's just so incredible to be able to read these stories, and like you do grow quite a fondness for them. And then when they die, it's like, wow. So like as a kid, like you read Feral Lad when that, or did you read that when the issue came out? I don't know what the date was on that, but so you got that off the spinner rack?
Yeah, I feel like it was around 1967, probably. So I was 8, I'm guessing, for the death of Feral Lad, because it was that actually, now that I think about it, that was like a 5-part storyline where they had to go find the Fatal 5.
Yep, that's the issue before, or one of the issues before it.
Yeah, because the Fatal 5 have something to do with it, with what Feral Lad ends up doing. The Fatal 5 story arc ties into that.
Yeah, that was 67. Look at you. You know, that's one thing that you always talk about, is like when you're like, I don't know, like you don't have like memory of these knowledge of these modern stories. Sometimes you're like, I don't know what issue that happened in. But whenever you talk about Silver Age, like it's still there.
I do know those years. Yeah, I have.
It's probably that nostalgia just builds up that knowledge. But one of my favorite gimmicks of Legion of Superheroes, though, especially that era, is the constant like tryouts to make it into the Legion, and the people that get rejected. Like those, like every time they have like these like this dumbest powers that don't work, and like those characters, every time I get to a new issue where it's like, oh, these guys are trying out, and this guy, I don't know what the gimmicks are, but their powers and stuff that don't work. It's so funny. Like the cast is just massive too. Like,
and how did Bouncing Boy get in there?
Right.
When IQ Kid couldn't, the smartest kid in the galaxy or whatever.
Right.
What are Bouncing Boy's powers? He can bounce? How's that a good power?
And then Matter Eater Lad, just who can eat his way out of any situation.
He could eat his way out of jail, but how's that going to help me versus Starro the Conqueror? I don't know.
It's so funny though. And then there's a story in the first omnibus where a lot of the rejected superheroes form a team, like a secondary team of Legion of Superheroes.
You're the backups, yeah.
So that's like one thing that does come back up. It's not like nothing comes back up ever. Like you see, like when you're reading them in an omnibus format, you're like, oh, I remember this character that got rejected from the team. Now he's trying to form his own team. But
yeah, and then there's stories when the Legion is off doing something else, and so these backups have to do the job, and that's kind of fun when you see the reject Legion, whatever they are, when they get called into action. They're the backups that get activated. They get flight rings, which is a big deal.
Yeah, and like there's so many intriguing stories too. Like it's almost like I don't even care about the bad guys they're trying to fight or anything. It's like the interaction between the characters that I care most about. And Brainiac 5 was a huge one for me early on that grabbed me, because it's Brainiac, obviously, you know, like the Superman villain, but he's Brainiac 5, so he's like the 5th generation removed or whatever he is. And like the team doesn't trust him at first. They're like, we want you on the team, but we heard stories about the 20th century Brainiac, and we don't know if we can trust you. So like you go like multiple issues where they're like, I don't know if I could trust this guy. And it's just such an intriguing, like, I don't know. I loved it.
Oh, that's so great to hear. I'm so pleased that you feel that way. Hey, Josh, an hour ago had this question. Josh, if you're still out there, I think this is a really good question. You're talking about 8-Ball Hate and other indie comics. What do you recommend starting with?
Ooh, I have 2 answers to that. They just reprinted 8-Ball in paperback format.
I would recommend that. Yep.
And it collects the first 18 issues, because issues 19 through 23 were like oversized, so they didn't fit. It was like almost a different era, so they call it the complete 8-Ball. It's only like $50, but like that, like 50, like it's a huge chunky trade paperback full of comics. And Dan Klaus is amazing.
Yeah.
So I'd say pick that up because that's in print right now. And then Hate, it's in that big box set, which I know you You always talk about
Infamous box set. Urgh!
You always talk about that. But you can find those old trade paperbacks for pretty cheap too if you just want to try it out. There's like 4 of them that collected all of Hate. It's like Buddy goes to Jersey, Buddy goes to Seattle, I think is the other one. Maybe there's only 2 of those then.
That was a cool era when he went to Seattle and had the collectibles shop.
Yeah.
Yeah. And P-Bag was bashing the scene there, the hipster scene in Seattle.
With all the grunge kids and the
through constantly commenting on it.
That's one thing I love about Klaus and Pete-Bag too, is like they have that kind of Seinfeldian thing where like there's not really any endearing characters in their books. Like they're all pretty much people that you can't really root for, I guess. But like it's like it almost makes you like look in yourself too. It's like maybe I'm not such a great guy. Because it's like all these characters are despicable, but maybe I have these same flaws too. But I would say, so for Hate, I would say look at, if you want to try it out, look for those Buddy Goes to Jersey, Buddy Goes to Seattle trade paperbacks. I think the Neat Stuff box set, which predates Hate, that's like where Buddy and his family like debut.
That
was like the one main anthology he did. That one goes for pretty cheap too, if you can find that one. But definitely 8-Ball, like that paperback came out recently.
Yeah, I agree with everything Taylor just said. Let's see if I can get somehow caught up.
And on my channel, if James Abel wants, I have overviews of all the box sets that I mentioned in 8-Ball.
Nice. No, I did not go to band camp. It was just regular summer camp. Band camp. Oh, and Cage had to take off. Nice talking to you. Oh, okay. Next Imaginaut has joined the chat. Great to see you. Sorry, it was half an hour ago, 45 minutes ago. Omnidog and Taylor, one of 2. Happy Saturday. Joined the chat late. Were DC's new publishing strategy placed in your hands, how would you go about publishing the remainder of their Silver Age, Golden Age, and Bronze titles? Wait, it's that second one. And characters, for example, by what order of priority? How many titles and in what format per year?
Great. I know you have very strong thoughts about this.
Thank you, Reaper XC. Oh, I have opinions.
And I have an opinion too, but if you want to go first, you can.
No, that's okay. Let's see. Wait, I missed something. Oh, they're talking about Garfield in the chat at 1/4 after, so I'm 45 minutes behind. Hi, Derek. Thank you for joining. Talking about Garfield. Oh, Reaper's a fireman. Fire call. Gotta go. Thanks for joining.
Oh, wow. Reaper. Stay safe, Reaper.
Yeah. Let's see. Talking about filling gaps in collections prior to collected editions. We were half an hour ago. Sorry, Derek. It's only me running this thing. I hope that's what people expect. I can't. That was fun and aggravating at the same time. Yeah. Oh, same thing happened with me and my dad back in 1988. We bought our comics at the supermarket from 88 to 91, and we had gaps in our collection. It wasn't until summer 1999 when the local comic books started popping up everywhere near us. Nice.
I love hearing those stories. Those are some of my favorite stories to hear from older collectors, is like their trips to the spinner rack and just like I never experienced it myself, but just thinking this idea of a kid like hopping on their bike every week to make sure they got to the spinner rack and like buying it, maybe a stick of, or candy bar or something to eat with it, and
baseball cards with a gum in it.
Oh yeah. I do remember those. Those existed when I was a kid. That gum. But just like those stories, it sounds amazing. I don't know.
I know I've heard this. All the hardcover versions of the Green Lantern have misprints. This was half an hour ago. Sorry, S.A. Wu. But I mean, I can go to the end of the chat, but please tell me what they are, because I have heard of this.
Yeah.
Cats. Superman, cats. Because she's on a little trip right now, Noir Wolf. So she doesn't know about them. Messi, Death Note, Omnidog. Uh, every issue is the first issue. Every issue is the first issue is Jim Shooter.
Yeah, Jim Shooter had that same mentality when he was editor.
Okay.
But I feel like I feel like he got that. Maybe that's his phrase, but I think he got that from Stan Lee.
Okay, I see what you're saying there. Yeah.
Yeah.
Silver Age Green Lantern by John Broome is really enjoyable. Silver Age Hawkman and Flash are pretty good as well. Dig Infantino's art. Mr. Awesome just went to the top of my list.
Hawkman hasn't been collected very well. I think they might have had DC Archives, but didn't it have a lot of Joe Keeber artwork?
Yeah.
So I wish that would be in an omnibus too, but they haven't done that.
Let's see. If I recall correctly, DC did a throwback to that after Julius Schwartz passed. Yeah, they took classic covers from that era and had then current writers take a crack at the premise. One thing I love about Jesse doesn't hide how he feels about comics. I never loved Sikowski's art either. Not my cup of tea. Yes, that was the 2004 DC Comics Presents One Shots.
I've never heard of that. That's it.
I don't think I know about that. Okay, wait. I'm writing that down to 2004 DC.
I love that idea though. I love those kinds of gimmicks. I think there's a Commandy story that came out like 12 issues too that were like I forget what it's called. Like it has like a deluxe hardcover where like it would end on a cliffhanger and then a whole new creative team would jump on the next issue and have to like pick up from there. And they end on a cliffhanger, then a different creative team would pick up from there. And it's like 12 issues long. Like I love little gimmicks like that.
Here's a question for you. Looking for some in the know knowledge.
No comment. It is on Monday though. I will correct you there. It's on Monday at noon. Is when it's a big Near Make Edition announcement. It's on at noon on Monday, and 11:30 the Patreons can get early access to the video.
Patreon get early admission to the big announcement.
But I can't say anything else.
Oh, good. You're in the know. That's great. Really digging this enthusiastic discussion of both you guys' love of Silver Age. Thanks, Cycle. Keep it going until I finish this haircut at least. Yeah, that's me. Oh yeah, I came across Mike Sikowski on the Wonder Woman Diana Prince Omni. His joint angles threw me for a loop. That was an odd era when Dennis O'Neil and Mike Sikowski turned Wonder Woman into just Diana Prince, and she was a spy. That era was not for me. I know there's a Omni of it.
Yeah,
that is not.
That's one that you've advised me not to purchase, and I still think but I want to try because the premise of it sounds amazing. Like obviously I love Wonder Woman being herself, but like this odd era of her being like this super spy, which I love spy stories.
Yeah, and
then like the idea that it's supposed to be like full of like the 60s pop art kind of artwork, but I know you told me like it's Sikowski, it's not great. Like I don't know.
I'm kind of regretting not getting it now that we're talking about it.
Oh, maybe you'll turn around on it. Which
let me get it first before you get it.
Well, it was always at those ollies that people kept finding it at.
Oh yeah. Oh, I bet.
But maybe you could turn around on it like you will this one day.
It's at the top of my pile.
So I just want a quick pitch on this one for everybody.
Yeah.
So this book came out in this was post-crisis, right? Oh, that's when you jumped off too. You said you were done with it after everyone was dying and stuff. So maybe that's why you didn't like it too.
This came out. I saw this when I was going to the little comic shop. So whenever this started, when did it first start?
Let me look here.
In the 80s?
Yeah, it was 80s. It was 80. I want to say 87.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Oh, there's not a table of contents.
Oh, dang it, DC, what are you doing?
I know. 87. So 87 is when the first issue came out.
Okay, that sounds right. Yeah, it just didn't hook me. It was kind of, well, no, you pitch it to me because you got me to buy it, saying that I would like it, and we're going to do a review on it together.
Yes. So I've always heard that Jess says he doesn't like this era. And I was like, really, it's interesting. And then I read this last year, and it was my favorite read I read. Of all the books I read last year, this is my favorite read. And I read it and I was thinking about, I was like, Jess, who, again, I appreciate your opinion and I respect it and stuff, but I'm like, this has everything that you love about comics. I was like, how do you not like this era? I don't understand, because it's got like, it is known as like the funny Justice League, right, era.
Right. Riley calls it the Bwahaha era.
Yeah, I think that's what it's called, because it does read like a sitcom at times, like of like the characters going back and forth and whatnot. It's kind of like a workplace comedy sitcom, like The Office or something. But there is so much heart underneath that too. It's like on the surface, it's very much just funny kind of stuff, but underneath there's a lot of heart. And there's so many things in here that it's just like a funny story with great characters. The cast is huge. The artwork's amazing. Like it's Kevin McGuire. Like, Kevin McGuire artwork?
Yeah.
Okay, so one thing that too was like a revelation for me when I read this was that it was obvious to me that Tom King loved this run, and all the artists that he works with love this run, because Kevin McGuire, one of the great things about him is like all the different facial expressions he puts in. And like that's such a Tom King thing. I feel like on all his comics, whether it's Mitch Gerard's or Clay Mann or whoever's the artist on his books, always like has like these very distinct facial expressions where like characters almost like caught mid expression or something like that. And then like this is the beginning of the domesticated Mr. Miracle and Big Barda that like was so great in the Tom King Mr. Miracle run. This is like where that started. But I love the process of how this was written too. So Keith Giffen is the writer, and he does all the layouts of all the issues too. And then he has J.M. DeMatteis go back over with the dialogue, and that's when he gets all like the funny bits in there. And then Kevin McGuire can focus just on the facial expressions and whatnot because Keith Giffen does all the layouts. So on the surface, you're like, that's too many cooks in the kitchen. Like this can't work.
Yeah.
But it works so well together. Like when J.M. DeMatteis only has to focus on like the snappy, witty dialogue, and then when Kevin McGuire only needs to focus on getting the expressions of the characters in the right moments and stuff, like it works so well together that like I burned through that book. Like I couldn't put it down just because like it was like you just fall in love with each character.
Dude, you've sold me on it. I can't wait to read it.
Yeah, and like things like you reviewed My Bad last year that Mark Russell did.
Yeah.
That story. Like when I picked up the first issue too at my comic book shop. I think it came out last year too. I don't know, 2 years ago. But like that cover and the artwork and that story is like that's JLI. Like he's just like honing in like that era of stuff Mark Russell is. So it's like you love My Bad, and like it was just so many things that I'm like you would love this comic book.
I'm happy to be wrong. I am the first to admit it. Nothing would make me happier than to fall in love with that book. I am happy to be wrong if it's a great comic. And you've done a really good sales pitch. So I am happy to read that. I have to do a bunch of Marvel stuff for my next video, but then I'm going to have other videos in there if I feel well enough. But I will make sure that Omni's the next thing I read. Oh my God, I have to read Unforgettable Squirrel Girl or whatever. Oh no, wait. I have to read iZombie. That's okay. I can blow through that. Kristen and I are reviewing it in June, so I can read both of those together. I will definitely make sure that's the first Omni I read after I'm done with Top 10 Marvel.
And I definitely want to review it with you. So just do me a favor and don't tell me your thoughts on it until we get to the review.
Okay.
Because I want to hear. I could be wrong. Maybe you're gonna be like, "No, Taylor, this was awful. Why'd you make me read this?"
No, it could have been me. That was 1987. That's almost, how long ago is that? 40, 30, 35 years ago?
Yeah.
So I'm more open to interesting comics. Maybe I was just closed-minded about it, saying like, that's not my Justice League. That's totally what I was that.
And I do think it reads better and holds up better in this era of comics when people are more open to the idea of superheroes and not just like going and fighting bad guys all the time kind of thing. Like, well, they're more open to the idea of like again, I keep bringing them up, but like the Tom King kind of era where like let's humanize these characters and get to like kind of relate them to us in a way. I think it reads better nowadays, I'd say, than back then. And I understand why you wouldn't like it. It could be jarring, I think, reading that after reading all of the Justice League big battles, especially Crisis and like all these things. Like you're used to them, like those battles become secondary almost in that run because it's more about the characters and their interactions with each other. which is what I loved about it.
This sounds really good to me. I'm super excited to read it, and I can't wait to be wrong. I'm happy to be wrong. Oh, we never answered this question. Also, if you had total carte blanche with no practical publishing or marketing or responsibilities, which remaining Silver Age, Golden Age, and Bronze DC and non-Big Two titles would you publish, and in what formats? Okay, we need to cover Next Imaginaut. That was over half an hour ago. Sorry. First of all, the first thing I would do is I would speed up Silver Age, DC, Superman, and Batman. They need to get to the 68 to 74 period when comics changed for me, because it went from Batman in space to Batman fighting the Grasshopper Gang to all of a sudden Batman is drawn by this crazy, amazing artist, Neil Adams, with this amazing story of Ra's al Ghul and his daughter who has a crush on Batman, and there's a Lazarus pit, and what? This guy calls Batman the detective and knows all about him. How'd this all happen? And it's amazing. And Superman gets rebooted too, where that famous Neil Adams cover, Kryptonite Nevermore, and that's a really good story of what happens to Superman when he's when Kryptonite doesn't exist. Other stuff happens in it, and it's brilliant. Kurt Swan and Murphy Anderson art in it for a long.
Who writes that run?
Sorry,
who writes that run?
I don't remember.
Okay,
maybe somebody in the chat in half an hour can tell me. But yeah, darn it, I can't remember who writes that run. It might have been Elliot S. Magan. He may have written that. If I might be wrong about that, but
so would that be Bronze Age Volume 1 of Superman if they were to do it?
Yeah, probably, because see, this is I feel like the Bronze Age started. This is my personal opinion, with Green Lantern 76 and Conan #1, which I think were both in 1970. So that would be early Bronze Age for Superman, and the latter part of the Silver Age, Superman gets interesting too, like in 68 through 70. That's when Neil Adams started drawing World's Finest covers and the interiors, and World's Finest got really interesting for that time period. So that's the first thing I do, would speed that up and get people exposed to unretouched, unre-inked Neil Adams glory. And I've said it before, and this must be the 1,000th time I've said it, because then you'll see how why his art was such a big deal, because it changed everything. His art, he drew Superman and he drew Batman, and you'll see how it really had an impact and changed and stuff. I think that they have such a rich catalog of things that they, even Hawkman, and the Atom, any of those characters, if you price them right and make hardcover collections of them, people would be interested in that. Yeah, there's lots of Joe Kubert art. Sergeant Rock has a lot of Joe Kubert art in it.
Yeah, I'd love to have those collected.
Yeah, and those Sergeant Rock issues go there, man. They're all about real war and the consequences of it, and there's no prettying it up. They go to the consequences of war in those Easy Company books. So I would try and collect everything I could of all my characters, but price them so that people can afford them and get into them. I understand that everything's really expensive now. Paper's really expensive. Artists are more expensive. Writers, everything's more expensive. But even like a deluxe hardcover of these characters would expose people to how fun some of the late Silver Age, early Bronze Age characters were. I mean, I'm over the moon happy that Phantom Stranger actually seems to be coming out. I never thought
Hopefully.
Spectre and Deadman would come out, because that is awesome that Spectre and Deadman came out. Those are the kind of characters that I think would appeal to a number of people besides the Batman and Superman, and get the late Silver Age, early Bronze Age World Finest books. Just speed it up. Get these things out there. And I don't understand the distribution model.
Yeah. One thing I always say too is like, I don't understand for the life of me, why do they didn't start doing every year? You have like one golden old age Superman, one silver age Superman, one bronze age Superman, and then the volume 2 of each era, because then you're getting different collectors involved. And so like to split it up that way would be such a genius thing to me. And then also like the commitment of it, because like yeah, of course with Marvel, like we're informed now of how collected editions come out and whatnot. With Omar, DC's always been like, maybe that'll come out, I don't know. But one thing that I noticed with like Conan, two things, or two sets, I guess, Conan and then Peter David Hulk. When those both were coming out, it was like before volume 1 of either of those came out, volume 2 was solicited. So it's like if you're a collector and you're about to buy volume 1, you know in advance volume 2 is already coming out. So then by the time volume 2 comes out, volume 3 is solicited. So like you already have like this, you know, they're committed. You have faith that these are going to come out, that you're not just going to be stuck with this random volume 1, that hopefully volume 2 will come out eventually. So I think like having that sort of transparency and showing a commitment to the audience, that like we're going to put these things out. I think those two things, I think, is what I would change.
That is really smart. I hadn't thought about that, and that would have been a really great way to do it. I 100% agree with you. That would have been
Did you see a little off topic, but do you see Wonder Woman Silver Age Volume 2 was solicited?
I did see that. Yeah,
that's kind of cool.
That is good.
But those Sergeant Rock, I've never read those war comics, and I love war comics. Like my favorite are like the Harvey Kurtzman EC war comics. Yeah. Like those like were very like cerebral and like showed you like the horrors of what war was really like.
Right.
When you get to like Sergeant Fury and the Howling Commandos of like DC, like even though those have great Jack Kirby artwork in the beginning, but those were a little bit more polished, like patriotism of like Go America kind of thing. Like we're fighting this war and we're the heroes and they're the villains. But the Kurtzman era EC comics were like, no, like nobody wins in war, and these are like the horrible things that these men and women now like go through. Those are my favorite war comics. So the way you describe the Sergeant Rock ones make me maybe wish those were collected somehow.
Yeah, even in deluxe editions, you know, it doesn't have to be an Omni. Make it affordable and just do deluxe editions. I mean, I have a DC Goes to War kind of deluxe.
Oh edition. Yeah.
It's not an omnibus, but
that's a standard size hardcover too.
Yeah, but
I have that as well.
And you got a sampling of what those comics were like.
Yeah.
And so even a standard thick book, fine, keep the price down, because not everybody is going to flock to that like they flock to anything Batman or Superman related. And there's more Superman and Batman stuff that needs to be collected. There's a lot in omnibus format. I mean, Dark Knight Detective and Caped Crusader and all that stuff through the 90s.
Yeah.
That stuff needs to be collected in hardcover, because a lot of those are out of print and hard to find. So even as I'm saying, the smaller characters or the backlog, maybe call it a backlog of characters, there's a ton of the popular characters like Wonder Woman and Batman and Superman that just haven't been collected they should be in an evergreen format. You know, these are our main characters. These are always good, you know, like Death of Superman. That's an evergreen title. And I give DC credit. They do have more evergreen titles even though it's Watchmen in 55 different formats. They do have more evergreen titles than DC does.
Than Marvel does.
I apologize. Yeah, than Marvel does. So because like 52's been reprinted, Infinite Crisis has been reprinted. Infinite Crisis at one point was a $400 book. 52 was crazy. Justice League, blah, 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 blah. Some of these books were crazy expensive. Batman Eternal needs to get reprinted. So so they do, in absolute format stuff comes out. I noticed they're reprinting the Transmetropolitan absolutes, which is awesome. So they are doing a lot of things right, but I feel like they need to do, I feel like they really, Marvel does have very fine condition, which means they're listening to the fans through Omar.
Yeah.
Now, Omar doesn't have the power, although I did fan bomb him into making me a Gwenpool omnibus. So that happened. He doesn't have infinite power to say, let's do this Omni, but they
like the Inhumans omnibus.
Say this is what the fans want. So we should put out, I don't know, Ms. Marvel. We should put out World War Hulk again, Howard the Duck, Hawkeye. We need to reprint that. So they do listen through Omar, because I know David Gabriel's most of the time is in those chats. I don't know how often he's in the Ask Me Anything chats on Saturdays, but I know he's in the chats when we do Marvel Solicits. Not in the chat. I know he's watching.
Yeah.
And so that means he's listening to what people are saying in the chat.
And that's so simple. That's such a simple thing. I don't understand it.
Well, I see, here's the problem, I think, with DC that Marvel doesn't have, is that DC is part of a company that was part of a bigger company that just went through a ton of changes and cost cutting and all kinds of corporate stuff that the fans, at the fan level, we don't understand it. But when you get up into the stratosphere of AT&T owning DC Comics, that made no sense whatsoever, because it was under the banner of Warner Brothers. Okay, so now it's spun off with Discovery, and so they've had to chop a bunch of DC movies, whatever. Who knows what the budget is for collected editions? At Marvel, things are stable and calm, and I have a feeling that DC is constantly undergoing some kind of monetary pressure within their comic division, and that's why I'm okay with the fact that we get standard hardcovers.
Yeah.
If that's all they're going to let us have, okay, I will take that. I'm not going to stay here and say I'm waiting 10 years for the deluxe. No, I'll take the standard edition right now in hardcover. I've made my peace with that, and because that's what DC's giving us, and they could be under tremendous cost pressure that we don't know about. And
one thing I will say that's really promising about DC with collected editions is James Gunn, and the fact that James Gunn, with his video that he put out, was like, this is what the first phase of the DCU is going to be, and he attached each of them with like a collected edition or a comic book that associates with it. And even since then, we've seen on Twitter and whatnot, he's talked about how he's talked to Jim Lee specifically about getting things back into print. Like, I know like the Supergirl by Tom King was one that he really pushed to get reprinted. And that's one thing that I've always said is like the MCU has been super uber duper successful. But the one thing they missed out on was the ability to put people back into comic book shops. Like, they didn't do enough to, and I'm sure they did. Like, I'm sure there's probably fans in the chat that are like, oh yeah, the MCU is what got me into comics. But there's not enough. Like, the fact that these were like billion-dollar box office movies, and they never once said like, oh, if you like, you like this movie, then here's this trade paperback collection that you need to go buy at this comic book shop, or put them into like Targets and Walmarts or whatever. Like, so when people are like, oh, I love that movie, and like right there on the bookshelf, because I'll just tell a little aside. Whenever I go to Walmart and Target, I always go to the book aisles, and the amount of manga that's just like filling those shelves.
Oh
And
yeah.
then I'm like, and which is great. Like I'm not saying like don't anything against manga, but I'm like, why isn't Marvel and DC putting trade paperbacks next to these? And like graphic novel sales alone are like huge right now, and manga's a big part of that. And so is like Dogman with Dave Pilkey. But like,
Yeah.
what's Marvel and DC doing to make sure that they're attached to that as well? So one thing that I love about James Gunn is that he is very much attaching each of these projects with a collected edition or a comic book run and that kind of thing, and giving credit back to the comic creators and whatnot. And I hope that that synergy keeps going forward. And I hope that the DCU with James Gunn, who I love, like Guardians of the Galaxy are amazing movies, and I love everything he's done. So I hope that it's just like super successful, and like the DC is like takes off into this big way, and that he keeps attaching them to comic books in that way. And I think that could be promising, especially if AT&T sees that, or Discovery, or whoever sees that. They're like, oh, like he's really tying these things together. Maybe we need to put an emphasis on these things. But so that's one thing that's been a positive for me to see.
Yeah. Well, that's a really good point. Jess, this is half an hour ago. You're doing better with this co-host Cancel Bar. It was called Crisis on Multiple Earths. Was the 5
Okay.
book that?
I need to look for that.
Thank you, Derek. I agree with Taylor that I prefer less frequent crossovers. They felt like they had an impact on the universe, but otherwise each title was almost its own universe with an occasional team up. They are re-releasing those 6 books into 3 books currently. Okay. There was 6. There was a 6th book, and it was called something else. Let's see. 3 of the reprints should be out soon. I suspect there will be an Omni someday of DC collections as act together. I'm loving the convo. Ignore the chat. I guess I kind of am. I apologize, but we're getting into such good discussion that I can't. That's what it is. Crisis on Multiverse, the team ups. These have the first Silver Age appearances for characters and the first meetups on Earth 1 and Earth 2 characters, like our Adam meeting Earth 2 Adam.
That's what I want. I didn't know this existed, so I need to look these up, because that's kind of what I wanted. It's like I want to. It's a good way to piece the. That's one thing I think too, is like be creative with the way that you're putting this material out. Like, of course, as a completist, I love the fact that it's like issue 1 through whatever. But like a greatest hits kind of compilation isn't always bad, as long as it's something like that, where it's like these are all the first appearances of these characters, so you can get to Crisis.
Yeah.
There's one collection that I wish they would keep in print. I just read Grant Morrison's Batman for the first time, the first omnibus volume, like this year, and I loved it. But the Black Case book that he had, that had all the important issues from the Silver Age and Golden Age that tied into his Batman RIP run, that book is like way out of print. It was only in a trade paperback, and it goes for like $100+ on eBay. It was like a $20 trade paperback.
Yeah.
And I was hunting that down. I was like, I want to read that as like a companion to this. Like, that's such an awesome idea. It's like all these like issues that Grant Morrison picked and pulled to tie into their run on Batman. I was like, that's an amazing idea. So then I couldn't find it for a good price. Yeah. It's not available digitally anywhere. That case book, Black Case book or whatever it's called. And then those issues are not even on the DC app. So I went on the DC app. It's like, I'll just read them myself and make my own playlist and read them all. But they're not all on there. So it's like, that's such a creative idea to tie into this omnibus 3-volume omnibus set, but it's not even available.
Yeah, that is a great point. That's something the DC needs to keep in print, because it does hook into Grant Morrison's ideas in Batman, and he, like the Batman of Zur-En-Arrh, that's one I think you can get in a variety of things. Maybe
I think that's in the first. Yeah, I think that's in the Silver Age Batman omnibus that came out.
Okay. Oh yeah. That it is. That's where I just read it. Yeah, the Batman of Zur-En-Arrh. But you're right. There were like 5 or 6 stories where he pulled ideas from that gave him inspiration, and it's really, you're right. It's really cool to read those stories and see how he turned them into his ideas, like Batman Incorporated and stuff. And here is the
look at that.
link.
That's an old video too. I did that like 2 or 3 years ago.
Oh, James is amazing.
Yeah.
So
Producer
everybody that
James.
wants to see that, I'm going to go look at that. As a matter of fact, Jim Aparo and Alan Davis, yes.
Mm-hmm.
I know Batman and the Outsiders. Yeah, that's what I'm excited for with the Phantom Stranger book. Is that there's a ton of good Jim Aparo art in that Phantom Stranger. Original Brave and Bold titles became Batman and the Outsiders after issue 200. Suicide Squad took off with the idea as well.
Oh, the special ops kind of team.
Right. Okay.
Yeah. That's an omnibus that should have happened too. Why the heck did we not get that omnibus, the Ostrander run, when that movie came out? I'll tell you, and I know you're going to tell me why did you do that, but I had all the trade paperbacks, and I took the gamble and I sold them all with the anticipation that I was like, surely they're going to do that omnibus when that movie comes out.
Even deluxe editions.
Yeah.
Just I mean, those things are out of print.
Yeah.
A lot of those Birds of Prey books that Gail Simone did, which I thought would get reprinted with the Birds of Prey movie, those need to be, and same with Secret Six, those need to be reprinted too.
Yeah.
Is Tara in
yes,
the Outsiders?
Yeah.
Okay.
No, it's her brother. Right. Her brother's in it. And Tara's the character from the Judas Contract.
In Outsiders, Katana, and Looker too. Okay, sorry. We're way behind. I'm so sorry. Oh, this is cool. I did get to chat briefly with Jim Aparo's daughter and share with her how much her dad's artwork meant to me growing up.
That's awesome.
What a great memory. What a great thing to do. Yeah, you're right, Larry. That is really cool. There was a hologram of Pharaoh Lad in the latest DC animated movie with Supergirl. I'm way behind on my DC animated stuff. Damn it. Aparo's Spectre covers made me want those to be the first comics ever owned, which my grandmother got for me. Nice.
That's an omnibus I'm kind of mad at myself for not picking up when it came out, because now it's super out of print. The Spectre one.
Yeah. And it's really great.
Yeah.
Sorry, Johnny. Yeah. I apologize for spoiling it. I forgot about that in that new Suicide Squad when we arm fall off boy. That was Nathan Fillion or whatever his name is, but James Gunn. The chat is yours. I'm not even being able to keep up. Speaking of Silver Age, Legion of Superheroes, I can find volumes 1 and 3 of the Omnis over in Europe at decent prices. Oh, but volume 2 is impossible to find at the moment.
Yeah, volume 2 is really hard.
Is that appearing at Ollie's, or is it genuinely?
No. So volume 3 has been on one of your competitors that begins with an I. That for like $20, $19.99 is the price for that volume 3, and it's been that way for months. And then volume 1 was really cheap too on there. So I tell people to pick those up if you want them, and then maybe find volume 2. Volume 2, though, like I tell people this all the time, it only carries a cover price of $75. So that's one of those omnibuses that if you find in a comic book shop, you don't have to, and it's hard to be like, okay, I'm gonna pay cover price for a $150 book. Paying cover price for a $75 book may be a little bit easier, but there's got to be some volumes like collecting dust somewhere in a comic book shop. I don't know. I just put a call out, maybe ask people to go look in their local comic book shops. But yeah, that volume 2 is super out of print.
I think the 5 years later Legion of Superheroes 1 is the one that's hard to find, but he's saying it's still available next to Imagine on IST at a steep discount.
Well, it's volume 2 he's talking about.
Yeah, volume 2, but volume 1 is the one that's hard to find. Yeah. Taylor, here's a plug for you. Here's your comic channel.
Yes, thank you.
So go to Taylor Talks Comics, because he goes there and he talks comics, and comics are the greatest thing in the world.
Absolutely.
Here's Taylor Talks Comics, the complete 8-ball.
There we go. Look at that.
Nice.
the super producer.
Yeah. Thank you, James. DC Challenge, Commandy Project, Commandy Challenge. Oh, Commandy
Yes.
Challenge is the one.
That's what I
where
was
the-
talking about.
Yeah, that's the one you were talking about. Okay.
I will say too, just real quickly, the Legion of Superheroes 5 years later, Volume 1 omnibus is in stock with the company I do social media for, who's a competitor. Starts with a C. It's 17% off.
It's what now?
It's 17% off. So it's
Volume 1?
yeah.
Okay, go ahead and say their name.
Oh, CGN, cheap graphic novels. It's there for it's 125 right now, and the cover price is 150. So it's less than cover, but it's volume 1 of the Legion of Superheroes 5 years later.
Okay, it's in stock right now.
It's in stock. I just checked.
Okay, everybody needs to go there that's been looking for this thing because it's like $300 on eBay.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
just add to cart right there.
And they're gigantic omnis full of really cool. I like that era of Legion of Superheroes.
Yeah, I'll tell you, because Max, who runs CGN, found I don't know, he's really on the ball about finding when things are available, and somehow one of the distributors had a whole stack of them, so he scooped them all up, and that's how I got my copy.
Nice.
When he first got them, when the price was a little bit cheaper, but yeah, so it's below cover though, which I mean it's an out of print book. It might be the last stock in America, at least.
Yeah, because Organic Price Books got something like that with, I think, Harley Quinn Volume 2. He found like a stash of it, and maybe also Batman Black and White, which reminds me, let me just let everybody know. There's my code, Organic Price Books, for $2 off and big savings. I used this myself the other day, and I saved 5%, shipping 3 or more books together. Omnidog ship it together. And if you want to email me, I'm happy to talk to everybody that emails me, OmniDogsVault2, or if you leave me messages, please hit the like button because this discussion has been a blast. Feel free to leave me a message. And I don't even think we're close to being done because I think we just want to keep talking about everything.
I know.
Whoops. DC Challenge, yeah. Cycle Cleveland, are you giving a dog a haircut? Ollie's Wonder Woman Diana Prince celebrating the 60s omnibus was recent. I don't have any Ollies around me. Denny O'Neil himself said his mod Wonder Woman didn't work. I've heard it was accidentally sexist, despite trying to be feminist.
That's how Denny O'Neil's described it. He was trying to be like pro-feminist, but then he said like in hindsight it doesn't hold up in that kind of regard. So it's kind of
okay.
He's pretty critical of that run himself.
Yeah, I remember hearing that before he passed, that he did say that. Okay. I heard some printings of the JLI. This is going back to our JLI Omnibus Volume 1 of issues with the with black
so
ink.
that is an issue. I will say, and you'll notice when you read it, like there's some issues where it looks like it was like a really bad scan or something. But I checked because that stuff kind of important to me. That's even in the trade paperbacks they've printed it like it's like that too. So I think DC, for whatever reason, their files have bad scans of some of the issues.
Oh,
where you can't see the black ink very distinctly, I guess.
Where does
you'll
that
notice
happen? In the Omni? It's
like the first third. Like it's not the entire first third, but it's like in the first third you'll notice a few issues like that.
Okay.
And I think that's just like an ongoing issue until DC cleans it up and then reprints it. But for whatever reason, they keep using those scans.
International is like classic workplace sitcom, clashing of different personalities. Now, have you read One Star Squadron by Mark Russell?
I haven't, but I saw your best DC videos of the year video, and you instantly sold me on it. So I need to find a copy of that. Yeah,
it's not hard to find. It may have a lot in common with that Justice League. One Star Squadron's amazing. One thing that Mark Russell does is in his satire, it's very pointed satire. So it goes after dysfunctional workplaces, bosses that are disconnected, the plight of the American worker, how workers aren't appreciated properly, the disconnect on the pay scale. It never comes at you that sharply, but that'll be your takeaway. I mean, it's very funny. It's very humorous, and it even Mark Russell even puts himself in the book and pokes fun at himself at one point. But it's also very sympathetic to the plight of the American worker not being appreciated and what they have to go through. But it's all very subtle. It's not in your face. You don't really realize it until you're done with the book. And then you reread it again and you get the points he's making, just like with Flintstones and just like with Snagglepuss, and whatever else he's written. His writing is really subtle satire that makes very sharp points without being in your face and making it not fun. I mean, he makes it fun, but he makes his points.
Yeah, that's a good way to put it. He kind of reminds me of like Steve Gerber from back in the day. Steve Gerber was always good about that, and like his Howard the Duck run and stuff.
Oh, we finally got to Essay Woo talking about Green Lantern. For Absolute Green Lantern, but pages 59 and 60 are flipped. It's also flipped in other hardcover versions as well. DC has had multiple chances to correct it, but they keep dropping the ball. Okay, pages 59 and 60.
Yeah, I need to check mine out. I for some reason I didn't notice that.
I have
the deluxe edition.
Yeah, I've heard this before, and I wonder if I just read it and said, "Oh yeah, that happens." This is in Justice League. There's some serious stuff that happens in that JLI series. Also, people always focus on just the humor, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Oh, here's
a lot of heart to it.
Yeah. Samantha from New Zealand just tuned in from New Zealand. Going to go back and watch from the beginning later. Thank you, Samantha, for joining. Story behind the international run is pretty interesting as well, as most of all the big heroes were off the table by their by their editors.
Yeah, it was Denny O'Neil that let them use Batman. He's like, he felt bad for him, so he's like you can't have a Justice League comic without Superman, Wonder Woman, and Batman. Like, I'll let you use Batman.
Kane has to leave. Thank you for joining, Kane. I appreciate it. We both appreciate it.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah, you have been saying that I'll love Fire and Ice.
See, I'm glad there's more people on board too that are.
Oh yeah, I think there's a lot of people in the chat that do love JLI. You're not alone. I think the majority of the chat loves JLI. Crazy Cassowary says, I agree, very character driven. Oh, good. June 20th is June 10th. Okay, good. So I got to read iZombie because we're going to be on Comic Slayer doing that review. Thank you, James. I know it's in my calendar, but JLI showed the world why Gnort is I know who he is the greatest Lantern of all.
Very true.
Gnort rules, Hal drools. How dare you? I'm glad we finally were just down. Yeah, I'm definitely trying it. The chat is huge on JLI. Jess, you better get me a Mike Grell Warlord omnibus. Not that you're calling the shots on publishing. If
I would love that run too.
Was Wild Hair, I would totally get you that.
Well, we're on topic of Mike Grell. I know you have. Don't you have both the Green Arrow omnibuses?
I do. Yeah, I haven't started them. I read Longbow Hunters a long time ago and loved it.
One thing I will tell you, because I heard you mention that before. It's such a chunky thing. It's hard to like even open the book up.
Oh,
one thing I'll tell you though is like there's a lot of word. They are, but there's a lot of wordless panels and there's not a ton of dialogue in those books. It's actually a pretty fast read.
Okay. Yeah, I definitely I did love Longbow Hunters when I read it when it came out. That's right. He had the exclamation point after his S. Elliot S. Magan. Next Imagine Out with two thoughts. I recently picked up the Wonder Woman DP celebrating the 60s Omni on a whim out of the same gnawing curiosity, and can confirm that it's worth reading for Silver Age and early Bronze Age. Oh, Diana Prince is the DP. DC aficionados. What's the second part of his thought? But not necessarily worth buying. It's tragically hip and a consummate mixed bag, ranging from glimpses at the promise of a truly memorably transformative. Oh, this is 2 out of 3. Wonder Woman reconceptualization to. Where's the third one? It's turned to 4. To the offensively dated, but the art's overall very good if you have any affinity for the poppier, frothier side of 60s super spy and 70s martial arts media. I think there's plenty in it to maintain your interest. So this chat has gotten me into Diana Prince, Wonder Woman, and JLI. Good heavens. Mullet petition for Alvarado. Who makes that shirt, Omnidog? I'll give you a glimpse of how cool it is. They're little Spider-Men. If you can see them. These are all Spider-Man heads. It's my wife's favorite shirt.
That's awesome. I
have 4 of these different kinds, but this is my wife's favorite. It's by the company RSVLTS, Roosevelt's.
Oh, I know. Okay, I know them.
They make really quality stuff. This is a super nice shirt.
I've looked at their website a million times, but I haven't bought anything yet.
Yeah. I'm excited for this too. I heard this Bruce Campbell Sergeant Rock versus Omni of the Dead. I heard it was good.
Yeah, that looks really cool.
Baturdays fit Taylor.
I was gonna make a joke. You have a Taylor, and Tyler on your channel.
I know. I've had them both on before, and it's really hard. I don't think Just wants to do any shows with you anymore, Tyler Blent. He keeps finding new people. Yeah, we're supposed to do a toy show tomorrow, but I don't know that I can get the 2 people to do it. I wish they would reprint the Treasury edition of the Rasha Ghul O'Neill Adams story. Oh, yeah, that'd be nice.
They did that Legion of Superheroes Treasury tabloid edition last year, the Mike Grell story. So they're not against the format.
Yeah.
I think they did that for the Superman versus Muhammad Ali too. Didn't they do a bigger format for that book too?
I have that. That dates from like the 70s. Yeah.
Well, they did like a hardcover version recently though.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Let's see. I'm still trying to catch up. I see T-Lar Blunt was in the chat for a little bit. Who makes that shirt? Racial Gold. Boopity boopity boo. Okay. Omar always made it seem that when Marvel had Conan, that the Omnis would continue if they sold, but might stop if they didn't. I feel that they intended to release them all regardless. Okay. Sergeant Rock is absolutely the best war comic outside of the early EC, that's what you said, or pre-code books. Chris Kaufman, not a hot take, a fact.
Now that's my most wanted reprint from or most wanted collected edition from DC.
Yeah. And this is T-Lar Blunt's most wanted book, X-Man. He loves X-Man. He's always asking very fine for an X-Man omnibus.
My most wanted Marvel omnibus that I thought would never come out came out last year, and it was The Thing.
Did you enjoy that?
Oh, The Thing's my favorite Marvel character, like for sure.
Is that like did John Byrne write that?
Yeah, he wrote the majority of the run. He falls off a little bit later, but that's a perfect companion to the 2 John Byrne Fantastic Four omnibuses, because John Byrne was obviously writing and drawing the Fantastic Four, and then he goes to write The Thing for those first. I think he writes the first 20 issues, But so like like Thing leaves the Fantastic Four and She-Hulk takes a spot.
Yeah.
Like in volume 2. So like basically that Thing omnibus is like where did the Thing go during that time? So they're perfect companions to each other.
So you're saying I should get the Thing omnibus?
If you're into the John Byrne Fantastic Four, then absolutely.
Well, I have those books, but I haven't read them. I've tried to get rid of them, but multiple people have told me I need to read it.
It's so good. It's very, very good.
Thing omnibus then too, because I have held on to those Fantastic Fours forever and just haven't read them.
And I will say, if you're going to dive into the John Byrne one, and I hate using this caveat that like, just give it a little bit of time and you'll like it. Because I hate when people are like, watch this TV show. By the time season 2 happens, like you'll really like it. It's like, so I have to watch like 15 episodes before I like it. So I hate those kinds of caveats. But I will say, like those first 5 to 10, I don't know how many issues it is, but John Byrne is like just doing the art for a part of it, and then it takes a minute to get into. But once he's on writing and drawing, the book just takes off and it's great. But they collect everything he did. So like those first few issues in the omnibus, he just does the art for, and theirs are like, that's not when the run really starts. So if you're trying it and you're like those first few issues, you're like, I don't know. Wait until he's on the art and drawing, and then it really takes off.
Okay. Just a sec. I need to do one thing. And if you want to send me through your DM or DMs, send me your a link to Taylor Talks Comics channel, and I'll put it in my description.
Okay.
And it says war stories are some of the best modern war comics. Totally agree. I also love the Harvey Kurtzman corpse on the engine. Oh yeah, that's a famous one. I couldn't believe they were written in the 50s. They felt brand new. I agree with this. Post-Crisis Superman is really a mess in collected edition format. There's so many out-of-print books, old trade paperbacks, missing issues, etc. Omnis are lacking during that period as well. Yes, 100%. David Gabriel was in the Saturday chat this morning, which James Abel also says. Right. DC Collection needs to have a relationship with Jess like Marvel does Omar. Oh my God, if only. If only.
I would co-sign that notion as well.
Oh, today is David Gabriel's 20th anniversary in his title at Marvel. Good for him. Which Hawkeye? Jeff Johns Hawkeye or Adam Kubert Hawkeye? Murphy Anderson?
Oh, Hawkeye. He's talking about
Hawkeye,
the Marvel.
Hawkman. Hawkeye. Yeah. Okay.
That's the David Aja Matt Fraction omnibus.
Right. I got confused with my Hawks. Those Dark Knight, this is our New Zealand friend. Those Dark Knight Detective Kate Crusader books are my most wanted omnis. I have heard that from other people too. All the cost pressure, standard size HCs, but they use the better quality Canadian printers a lot. So that's a lot better than what Marvel uses. Okay. DC's been putting ads for comics at the end of movie trailers. Why is Marvel not doing that?
I agree.
Oh, no. Here's something. From News Pui, Fox, Sony, Lionsgate used to include mini comics with their DVDs and Blu-rays. Ever since Disney bought Marvel, they've not let anyone include comics with their films, including themselves.
Interesting. I know one version of the Sin City, the first movie, came with like a smaller version of like The Hard Goodbye, which is kind of cool.
Oh, that is cool. Chris says, Jess gives, thank you, the best analysis of the DC collected edition situation. I'm tired of the DC just sucks and doesn't get it talk. They seem to be undergoing a lot of corporate pressure lately. I think that's exactly the problem, Chris. Yeah.
That's true. There's a lot more nuance there than people give credit.
Yeah, that's why I'm just happy for whatever they can put out. And I don't want to bash them because of that exact reason. I just feel like they could put out even more, but yeah, I think things are tough. Oh, Hondo's here, the Omnidog of Zur-En-Arrh. Just I can't remember, but did you ever get the 3 Crisis on Infinite Earths companion OHCs? I'm surprised DC never released a 2 Omni set combining the Crisis OHC and the 3 companions. 1 Omni would be too big. I do not have those companions. I have the Absolute Crisis on Infinite Earths, which I think is just a 1 book thing. It doesn't.
I think that just includes the 12 issues or whatever.
That's just the 12-issue Crisis part, right?
Yeah.
And then the companions are all those tie-ins. I looked all over hell and heaven to find.
The Red Sky tie-ins or whatever they call them.
Yeah. Yeah. Ooh, I have Days of Sand coming. Good job. That's the book of the month at the end of the month. Nice. Larry's library made me do it. Well, thank you, Larry, my co-host on Book of the Month. Here's Mexico checking in with Marcelo. Hey, buddy. Well, I'm only half an hour behind. With Gunn being in the movie department and pulling ideas from Ostrander Suicide Squad, an Omni has to be coming.
Hopefully,
yeah. Okay, we're talking about the Dust Bowl. That's interesting. Okay, good. Here's Sam. I'd love for printing technology to advance to the point that just about any collected edition could be printed on demand, so there wouldn't be an issue of a book being out of print. Maybe we're headed that way. Technology keeps improving.
Amazon has their print on demand service, so that might be the first steps of it.
Yeah. Turns out the Spectre Omnibus was the first Omni I ever got as well. If I come across another Spectre Omnibus, I'll grab it for you, Taylor. And Johnny's in Finland. He's a good guy.
Appreciate that.
Oh, the Hoosier State is represented.
Yes, that's where I'm coming from.
Yeah, and here's the link to get that volume
Look
1
at that.
to find.
The super producer
James Abel. Nice. FOMO. Buy it live. That's right. Those Legion of Superheroes have awesome spines too. They really do.
They do.
One thing I'll say about DC, they make boss spines.
I know they have some mishaps, but for the most part, I like that they go outside the box with a lot of their spines.
Yeah, these are really bitchin' spines.
I agree.
Cool covers too.
Yeah,
and their binding's much better than it used to be. With like that Hawkman by Jeff Johns mousetrap, that doesn't happen anymore. Still giving your dog the haircut. Wow. Be careful. My dog is deathly afraid of haircuts more than anything else in life and fighting through the sedative my vet gave to try making it easier so it isn't going great. Nah. Oh, Roguish Type is right. Don't email Jess. You'll end up buying figures of villainous sidekicks turned breakout characters. That's a great way to put it, Roguish Type, for our Harley. That is funny. What kind of dog do you have, Cycle? We could have never cut either of our dog's hair.
I think it's a smaller dog. I think I saw it on his Instagram.
Oh, okay. Speaking of organic price books, they're one of the few places that still has X Factor by Peter David, Volume 1 Omnibus in stock, and 40% off. New Spooey. Way to go,
That's a fun run. It's got some Larry Stroman artwork in there.
Nice. Well, I didn't mean for his comment to disappear. Oh, here's Unstoppable Bar. I just woke up to go to work. What? It's like 7 hours later there, so it's like 6 a.m. Good morning, Bar. Welcome. Farhan, our buddy from Malaysia. 2 dudes with the best facial hair on YouTube. Peace and love.
That's the best compliment I've heard all week.
Up, and here's the link for the Roosevelt shirts. That's awesome. Wait, where'd I? Okay, now I lost control of the chat. I'm not good at it anyway. Where is that? Okay. Next, Imagine tricks Jess into reading an essay. I'm waiting for the day we see a 12 out of 13 comment. Fire and Ice is getting a comic, but based on the 80s animated movie inspired by Frank Frazetta.
That's a lot of... Wow.
Wow, yeah.
Interesting.
I did have a Sinister Six I did have a Sinister Six. That's my favorite. The little Sinister Sixes
Oh.
all over. Thank you, Roguish Type. Don't give Next Imaginaut any ideas. Fire and Ice is amazing. Hope the new comic is good. It looks good to me. CGS, you can read right to left when it's DC. What was that from?
Oh, the Bat manga.
Oh, okay. Speaking of organic prices, hard to bet. Okay, dog. Okay, so actually I'm getting pretty close up. Another thing for JLI from Hondo. I'm an old school comic collector, started seriously collecting at 13 years old. And I just say JLI is fantastic and way different. You've got me. I can't wait to read it. The name of the video will be I Was Wrong. JLI is great.
I hope so.
Already mea culpaing my way into it. I am sorry. Omnidog. In other words, try out the 60s Wonder Woman Diana run prints on DC Universe first. Yeah, the app. A very cool curio, but definitely not for most. Yes, Sam. That's way important. By the time Jess gets to my comment, I'll already be back on my way back home. No, that was only like 10 minutes ago. You just woke up. Do you drink coffee? Have you had your coffee yet, Unstoppable? Okay, now everybody's talking to Unstoppable Bar. Those issues with Thing on Battle World are great.
Yep.
Is
Those are in that omnibus?
That's in that omnibus?
Yeah.
I loved a lot of those Battle World, War World trades. Bar has an exam today. Uh-oh. Best FF run, Lee Kirby. Second best, Burn.
I agree with that, Larry.
Okay. People are talking to Unstoppable Bar. Good to see her in the chat, as always. I got the Hulk Thing graphic novel with art by Bernie Wrightson in it, Jess. That's where they're... Okay, wait. What's he saying?
There's a Hulk and Thing graphic novel that came out back in the day that Bernie writes into the artwork for. Jim Starlin writes it, and that's in the omnibus.
Oh my God! I hope it's still in print.
Yeah.
Holy guacamole, Derek! How did I? Oh.
Here it is, right here. It's called The Incredible Hulk and Thing by Jim Starlin and Bernie Wrightson.
Bernie Wrightson. I'd get it just for that.
Yeah.
Holy guacamole.
There's a Bernie Wrightson Thing and Hulk right there.
Oh, wow. All right. Okay. I'm going to get it. Wait, what else am I getting? I'm getting the Thing and, Diana Prince. Next Imaginaut wants me to read on the DC app. Okay. I'll try that. Okay, people are still talking to Unstoppable Bar, which is good. Nobody told me that being an adult means waking up at 5:30 and having sleep deprivation. That's when I discovered coffee, Bar. Yes. Early on. Yeah, waking up early. That's when coffee became my best friend. People talking to Bar, which is always nice. Just Burns' Fantastic Four run actually starts with FF232. If you're not sure about the Omni, I recommend skipping in it to issue 232 and starting from there. Okay,
232 is when he starts doing the art and writing.
And so in those books, there's other Fantastic Four before that?
Yeah.
Okay. That's fine. I mean, I'll get to it. Now that I want the Thing omnibus, I definitely want to read it.
No. There's about looks like 11 issues before that.
What's that?
There's about 11 issues before that then.
Oh, I can read that, no problem.
Yeah.
Ryan is here. Welcome. Glad to have you. Unpopular opinion: when DC actually makes omnibus, it is better than Marvel. I don't know that that's unpopular. I'm very happy when DC makes something. I'm really happy. I may agree with that. The more I grow up, the more I understand Peter Pan. Yeah, totally, Bar. Those COIE companions are pretty interesting to me. They have some issues I probably would never have read if they weren't included. Okay, let me write this down now, too. I have an awful lot of things written down. Strange Tales. The Thing. Wait, I got to write down The Thing. The Thing. COIE Companions. Anything else? Whoop, I'm running into other stuff. Companions. And read Diana Prince on the app. Okay. I have a Shih Tzu. It's crazy hard to trim his hair already, but he fights nonstop like a madman usually. The sedative helped a bit, but not as much as I hoped. Jared, sorry, just you're wrong. The Stopple bar time right now is 5:52 a.m. Oh, did I say it was 6 a.m.? Okay, wait, 5:52 was, it's 11 o'clock here. Okay, so that was 8 minutes ago. So is she 6 hours ahead?
That'd be 7.
7 hours
No.
ahead.
Yeah.
Okay, she's 7 hours ahead. Okay. A real Omnidog fan would have just stayed up all night to watch the live stream and gone to work on no sleep.
I don't think I would make it that far. You'd have to be on your own at some point.
Taylor, did you see the videos of him humping his stuffed monkey? What?
He's talking about his dog on his Instagram.
Oh.
That was really funny to hear you read it out of context. Yes, I did. No.
The right to left was in reference to the swapped Green Arrow pages. Oh, okay.
Oh.
Green Arrow. Okay. Hey, there's just YP. Nice. Good. Jess, I started Superman Birthright yesterday. I'm halfway through and hopefully we'll finish it today after work. It's so good. Oh, I'm so pleased to hear that, Bar. Really pleased to hear that you're digging that. That's one of my favorite books. I'm so glad. Also, your comic came in, so I'm sending it to you on Monday. When I send Taylor his Kirby Green Arrow book.
Which can't wait to have.
Yes. The PAD Volume 1 was dirt cheap back around August. I saw the other day PAD Volume 3 X Factor was pushed to March 2024. We better get a Volume 4 late in 2024. Unstoppable Bar, I really need to get that. Yes, Sam, you do. Superman Birthright. Have you read Superman for All Seasons? Another random Ollie's item. They have a full Batman Adventures Mad Love trade paperback in black and white as a coloring book for $2 now. Nice quality, not cheap coloring book paper too. I do not have an Ollie's around me. The paper in that thing omnibus is definitely not thin.
Yeah, it's good.
Strange Tales Indie Marvel book. Right. Yeah, I wrote that one down. Thank you. Jess is also tracking to own Strange Tales 2. Yes, I am. I would say from Lars, my favorite run, FF run, is drawn by John Buscema and Rich Buckler.
Rich Buckler. Oh, that was probably in between Lee Kirby and Byrne.
Oh, okay. Hayden, sorry I missed all this. Just woke up, but hi. He's in Scotland. We lost Super Laugh Hard, and then Hayden came in to fill his place. Welcome, Hayden. Many, I trust, agree with you, Larry, regarding the 2 best FL runs. One thing I like about the thing is that he seems to be based on Kirby himself, plus one of Kirby's fave pulp characters growing up. Neat. Hi, Hayden. DC prices are higher, but so is their paper quality. This is possible. Taylor's going to make an enemy Patty when she finds out about this to buy list. Yeah, I had no idea that I was going to get socked with so many to buys, but it's kind of exciting. And I love being exposed to new stuff. So she'll be okay.
Hopefully.
Yeah. I think I'm bailing on the haircut. There's fur everywhere now. If you have the Crisis box set, the companion books are in there along with the Crisis on Multiple Earth books. I do not have that. But thank you for the info. Larry's got to get to bed. Thanks for joining, Larry. Appreciate having you in the chat. Conroy, frustrated that DC is bringing us volume 2 of Ordway's Power of Shazam run in soft cover. Oh, I know. This drives me crazy. I know. Okay, you put me in charge. That's one thing I will change. If I start out hardcover, we stay hardcover. Soft cover, we stay soft cover. Okay? I agree, Conroy. That's the collector in us that gets frustrated with that. It's only 5 o'clock in the morning here, and Lars has been here the whole time. Wow. And same with Taylor. I'm sorry, Johnny. I've been staying up all night for this. Taylor got me quite excited about tonight in a YouTube upload he posted around a week ago. Oh, nice. You did an ad for it?
I think it was an overview of the Legion of Superheroes omnibus.
Ah, okay. Sweden checking in with Mega Schremser. Just stopped by. It's early morning here in Sweden. Yeah, Joachim conked out, and I don't blame him. Going back to Bat Manga, Lord Deathman has been making appearances in Damien's series, apparently.
Oh, that's intriguing.
It is intriguing. Up next, Imagine. One of two. Speaking of The Thing, I can't yet attest to its quality, but Walter Mosley, I'm very familiar with him. I've read a lot of his books.
Oh.
Living Narrative 1, 2, Mosley's. Okay. We're here, 2 of 3 writers. Thing Mini just got a trade paperback release and might be worth a blind buy, if only for the amazing art. Have yet to get it myself, but I'm hearing that it's on par with Evan Dorkin's Startling Stories featuring The Thing Mini. Okay, wait. I don't have the Evan Dorkin.
Yeah, I've never heard of that.
Now I need to get Evan Dorkin Thing and Walter Mosley's Thing.
The Walter Mosley series is really great. That came out last year. I love
his books.
Yeah.
Walter, I'll just put Walt. I'm on a first name basis with him. Walt Mosley.
But I've never heard of the Evan Dorkin. And I love Evan Dorkin.
Me too.
I'm going to have to look for that.
That Death of Farrellad hardcover is so great, but also so weird that it exists. Oh, yeah, that's the hardcover book. And I'm caught up. People cheering on bar. It's early in the morning. I get it. Can't believe Jess didn't know about those Strange Tales collections of indie guys doing Marvel stuff. Me either. That's my jam, as the youngsters say.
I'm glad I was able to bring that to your attention then.
Yeah, you brought a lot of cool things to my attention. And so did the chat, spending my money for me. So actually, it's getting pretty late here.
It is, yeah.
And we've... No, I'm caught up. By the time I'm here, this will be the teenage, uncanny, and informative show, gentlemen. Thanks so much. Beauty sleep time. Right.
That was a perfect dipsy doodle back to the teenage comment at the beginning.
Yeah. I really hope they get someone great for MCU Thing. He deserves a great adaptation.
I agree.
Well, a lot of it was talking back and forth with each other, like the dog haircut and Bar's job and other stuff.
If you got to every single one, yeah, if you got to every single one, we'd be here for 5 hours.
Yeah, I did get caught up. So, Taylor, this has been great. I'd love to have you on again. The numbers stayed high of people continuing to watch. People dipped in and out, but this was a great chat. We had a lot of fun. I learned a lot about stuff I don't own, but also I don't think this is the night for a cycle. Those are the most fun kind of streams. Thank you, Ryan. So on the internet, where can they find you? I will send me your link and I'll make sure I put it in the description right after.
Yeah, I sent it to you, so you
Okay.
got it. Yeah, it's on YouTube, Taylor Talks Comics. And then Twitter, I think I'm TM. Just look for Taylor Talks Comics on Twitter and Instagram. That's my name I usually use everywhere. So just search for Taylor Talks Comics.
Awesome. And I have an Instagram that I haven't looked at in a week. I apologize. I have so many pictures that I want to post on Instagram of cool boss things. I just have to get better at it. I don't know why I suck at it so much. Because it's really fun to post on Instagram.
Yeah.
So, Mets doubleheader tomorrow. Okay. Thank you for that. And here's for those of you, I'm going to be posting that in my description. You just got a subscriber.
Yes. Thank you.
Nice. Omnidogs Vault, Omnidogs_Vault on Instagram. Thank you all so much for watching this. We had a lot of fun. The chat was great. Helped sell me on a bunch of books that I didn't know. I'm going to read Justice League International. 2 more subs.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Nice. So thanks. Peace and love. Peace and love.
Yeah,
Go to Taylor's channel. Come back to my channel for hijinks whenever I feel good. Hopefully tomorrow I can do a toy stream, but I don't know yet. We'll have to see. Definitely you can catch me on Omni Bros Monday and Wednesday nights. And of course, random Saturdays with Unstoppable Bar and Kristen and Minister of Comics. Everybody. I'm stealing everybody from Very Fine Condition, and I love it. So peace and love, and I will use our song to play us out. Peace and love, everybody. Thank you for making this a great video. I love you all. You make me feel better when I see you. This all makes me feel better. So peace and love.
Thanks for having me, for real.
Thanks for being on, dude. This was a blast. It really was fun.
Baturdays, Baturdays. Omnidog in the Minister of Comics. Talk forever, get right your ergonomics. Taking questions from the chat. With a name like that, you think they talk more about the past. Baturdays, Baturdays.